Part 52. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 512. After becoming the Crown Prince's daughter, it was very easy for Ganlu to deal with Zhao Beihe. She originally wanted to warn Zhao Beihe and beat her to let her know the consequences of coveting her man, but she accidentally, after seeing Lily Zhao's appearance, Ganlu was shocked. This Lily Zhao looked so much like her adoptive father. Sometimes when she pursed her lips and smiled, she even had the shadow of her adoptive mother on her face. If Ganlu just happened to look like Mayor Gan, and Ganlu could still convince herself that it was a coincidence. But since she looked like Mayor Gan, and also a little like her adoptive mother, Ganlu couldn't help but feel a little uneasy, and she didn't make it public. He went out and called his biological parents first. Although Ganlu is now with her adoptive parents and seems to be the closest to Mayor Gan and his family, when things really happen, Ganlu thinks of her biological parents. She compares Zhao Beihe's incident with her own. As soon as her parents finished speaking, her parents became a little nervous. They repeatedly told her to drive Zhao Beihe out of the capital and not to allow her to meet Mayor Gan and his family. For this reason, they did not originally. Ganlu's mother, who lives in the capital, even made a special trip to the capital and told Ganlu a big secret. When Mayor Gan and his wife went to the countryside as educated youths, although the couple was in trouble at the time, Ganlu's biological parents could see that they were both educated people and their families had backgrounds. One day they would be able to go back, so their family was very flattering to Mr. and Mrs. Gan. In the end, they successfully became friends with Mayor Gan and his wife, and even made a promise to marry each other when they were pregnant. It was a pity that Ganlu's biological parents gave birth to a daughter, and the Gan couple also gave birth to only one daughter 2 years later, so the engagement naturally had to be abandoned. Although Gan and his wife liked Ganlu very much at first, after all, they both have daughters, and they just like Ganlu in an ordinary way, which cannot be compared with their own children. Ganlu's biological parents know that if they don't work hard, they will suffer the most in their lives. In other words, just being friends with the Gans and his wife, but what is the value of this word friend? If they are relatives, Gan and his wife can still claim to be relatives when they become prosperous. Maybe Ganlu's parents will get rich by borrowing some money from them, but if they are just ordinary friends, no matter how good the relationship is now, there will always be a day when they become strangers. I don't know how many friends a person has in his life. Ganlu's parents are like this with Gan and his wife. Friends who have nothing to do with each other. If the Gan couple becomes prosperous, what will they do to build a relationship? Thinking of this, Ganlu's parents were so cruel that they sold their only daughter, who was less than 3 years old, to a foreign acrobatic troupe that was performing in the town when the Gans and his wife were not paying attention. This acrobatic troupe eats a lot of food and travels all over the year. Once the children are sold into the acrobatic troupe, they leave the local area and travel all over the country. How easy is it to get the child back? At that time, technology was not as developed as it is now. At that time, even writing a letter to the family was very difficult. It was impossible to find a kidnapped child. It was precisely because of this that people in that era kidnapping is rampant, and countless women and children have been abducted in many villages. At first, when the Gan couple's daughter disappeared, the couple frantically searched for her for a while, but by then the acrobatic troupe had already left the area. It is naturally impossible to find the child again, it will take a long time. The Gan couple did what Ganlu's parents thought. After they had no children, they gradually began to empathize with Ganlu. They began to regard Ganlu as their own daughter. At first, Ganlu's parents were a little worried, fearing that what he did was discovered, but as time went by and no one discovered what he had done, Ganlu's parents began to feel relieved, relying on their daughter to be favored by Gan and his wife, and they were also affected by it. Thanks to Mayor Gan, Ganlu's parents also found a job in the local area. They had gone from just digging in the fields to becoming officials who were liked by everyone in the local people. Now that Ganlu's family has become prosperous, I thought he was unaware of what he did back then, but he didn't expect that Zhao Beihe, who was sold into the acrobatic troupe many years later, would appear again. When she knew the truth, Ganlu was shocked. She didn't expect her parents to be so bold. At first, she was a little afraid that her adoptive parents would know the truth. But when she calmed down, she decided that this matter must not be allowed to anyone. Everyone knows, especially her adoptive parents, that she cannot lose everything she has now. Everything she has now was given to her by her adoptive parents. Without an adoptive father who is the mayor, who in this imperial city knows her? Who is it? She has been used to living a life of superiors, she has been used to being the eldest lady, she does not want to return to her own family and become an ordinary girl, she wants to marry her fiancé from a high family, she wants to get the status of the Gan family everything. If the Gan couple had no children, depending on how much they pampered her, everything in the Gan family would belong to her in the future. She would become a real princess in the future, and she could not let anyone else take it away. Zhao Beihe not only seduced her fiancé, but now wanted to take away everything from her. Naturally, Ganlu would not allow such a thing to happen, so she decided to kill Zhao Beihe. Isn't Zhao Lili good-looking and loves to seduce others? She was going to find a way to ruin Zhao Lili's face to see if any man would like her again. When her face was ruined, her adoptive parents would not be able to recognize her, and Gan Zhao would be relieved, so she tried every means to deal with the Zhao family team. She wanted to kill Beihe, especially after investigating that Zhao Beihe might indeed be the biological flesh and blood of her adoptive parents. She obtained her blood samples and compared them, confirming that she was the daughter of the Gan couple. After that, the Nectar naturally couldn't tolerate the Lily. She tried her best to punish Lily Zhao, but for some reason, this person who had always been weak gradually became stronger in this year. She even became famous and accepted several interviews. After Ganlu knew when she heard the news, she was shocked and frightened. Fortunately, her adoptive parents didn't like to read entertainment news. Mayor Gan always only liked to read financial and civil news reports, so he didn't discover Lily's existence when he was a member of the Zhao family's team. Later, Ganlu began to block the Zhao family team, which had been quite effective in the past year. The reputation of the Zhao family team was not as good as before, and when news about the Zhao family team could no longer be seen on TV or newspapers, Ganlu was relieved, but Lily's patience gradually reached the point where she could no longer bear it. The reason why Ganlu didn't stop Lily from meeting the people at the consulate this time was just because she wanted to watch the excitement. Think about it, the real biological daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Gan, who was supposed to have an extraordinary background, now looks like a wolf. The feeling of dying grasshoppers jumping in the palm of her hand made Mana find a sense of pleasure, so she decided not to stop Lily's move this time. She wanted Lily to be in the most painful moment after humiliating herself. Give her another fatal blow. Thinking of this, Ganlu couldn't help but laugh again. She had already called people from the Industrial and Commercial Bureau and the police station before. Now that Zhao's team has been separated, she can then say that Beihe is illegal for gathering a crowd. To make profit, he will find a way to put her in prison. As long as he puts her in prison, if he wants her to sit there for a few years, it depends on when he will be released. Once Lily is put in prison, her whole life was almost ruined. If a person in jail wanted to meet the mayor of the imperial capital who was busy with everything, the chances were slim. She no longer had to worry that one day she would be kicked out of the capital. After finishing all this and making a phone call to confirm that the people at the police station were ready to leave, Ganlu breathed a sigh of relief and had someone prepare red wine in advance in order to have a good celebration. Ganlu thought everything was under her control, but on the other side Lily had successfully met the people in the consulate. She did not make a fool of herself as Ganlu imagined. She had also entered foreign plots in many missions, and I have studied foreign languages many times during my mission. There are few people learning foreign languages at this time, but Lily is one of the few people who can speak foreign languages. She once lived abroad with the character Carol in the plot. Over the years, when meeting people at the consulate, her fluent foreign language almost surprised the people in the consulate. Whether it was the customs or the etiquette of receiving guests abroad, Lily was not bad at it. The ambassador was surprised and unfamiliar with Lily at the beginning, but later they had a pleasant conversation. When Lily performed a few acrobatic moves in the consulate, she naturally used some Chinese kung fu skills. A simple Qinggong technique opened the eyes of the foreigner. When he knew that Lily wanted to get a visa to perform abroad, that the ambassador immediately agreed. This time, entering the council was easier than Lily imagined. Foreign people's curiosity and admiration for Chinese kung fu exceeded the Chinese people's own imagination. Western magic was worshipped throughout the Eastern countries. While worshipping everything handed down from foreign countries, little do they know that foreigners are always worshipping things handed down by the Chinese ancestors. After Lily finished performing a few moves, the tall foreign consul began to pester Lily and wanted to learn authentic Chinese kung fu, hoping that Lily could accept him as a disciple. On the other hand, Ganlu calculated that the time was almost up. She felt Lily had already entered the consulate for more than half an hour and should be kicked out by the people from the consulate soon, so she started to signal the people from the police station and the industrial and commercial bureau to start taking action. Ganlu imagined Lily being kicked out by the people from the consulate in a panic. But when he heard the bad news that the Zhao family team had been arrested, he couldn't help laughing proudly. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 513. At this moment, when Lily was joking with people at the consulate, her cell phone suddenly rang. The caller was one of the Zhao family members who had stayed behind when the Zhao family's class was separated and was preparing to follow her. Waiting for the call. When the call was connected, the other end said in a panic, "Master, there are a lot of police here now. They say that we are an illegal gathering and they want to arrest us and take us to the police station. They also say that they want you to show your business license." People from the Zhao family class traveled all over the country in the past. When did they encounter such a battle? Now they were frightened by a group of neatly dressed policemen. They even felt a little awkward when talking, and there was a cry in their voices. Don't look at that. From this appearance, one can imagine that the Zhao family class was probably in a mess at this moment. Lily naturally knew whose handiwork this was, so her face that was originally smiling suddenly darkened, and she quickly comforted her. The person on the other end of the phone said a few words, quickly hung up the phone, and then said to the person at the embassy, "I'm sorry, sir. It was a pleasure meeting you today, but there were some minor accidents in my acrobatic class right now, and I have to rush back." The people at the consulate were about to call their colleagues to come over and enjoy the Chinese martial arts and skills. Unexpectedly, Lily actually said that she wanted to leave. The foreigner spread his hands with regret. I wonder if it was because he had a good impression of Lily. The foreigner, who shouldn't have inquired about Lily's secret, actually asked, "Okay, please, Miss Zhao. If there is anything I can help with, please don't be polite." After talking for a long time, Lily was waiting for his words. After hearing what he said, Lily was indeed not polite. After explaining his current situation, Zhao Jinying did not differentiate between the Zhao family's class in the morning and the Zhao family's class in the evening. However, today he received a bunch of people who wanted to divide the family and property, just to divide the Zhao family's acrobatic class that he had registered before. It became a legal company under the name of Zhao Jinying, and Lily, the founder, turned into an illegal gathering group. This was originally just a small matter. If there was someone above to help, it would only be done by completing the formalities tomorrow, but if Lily had no one, it would be done. She was determined to suffer this loss. Even if she just went through the procedure, she would definitely be known as a criminal in the end. If Ganlu wanted to take this opportunity to punish her, even if he sent her to prison and locked her up for 10 years, he would be able to do it. She was convicted. When the people at the consulate heard this, they frowned. She smiled at Lily, said excuse me, picked up the phone and walked aside. Not long after, the man came back with a smile on his face. There may have been a misunderstanding, but now the misunderstanding has been resolved well. I'll send someone to take Miss Zhao back first. This is a big trouble for the Zhao family team. But to some people, it is nothing at all. The Zhao family team is not a big shot. What's more, the Zhao family team didn't really commit anything. In the final analysis, the joint action of the police station and the Industrial and Commercial Bureau was just because Ganlu wanted to persecute Lily. This matter could be big or small. If no one from Lily said anything, naturally, this matter can be taken to a serious level and it can be said that she is making illegal profits. Not only can the income be confiscated, but she can also be charged with gathering a crowd to cause trouble. This time, people from the consulate came forward to intercede. China has always been very tolerant of foreign guests. Whether it was for the sake of the image of the imperial capital or for other reasons, what the Zhao family team made was not a principled error, it was just revealing their own personal grudges, and they could just let the matter go lightly. Lily did not refuse the foreigner's proposal. After thanking the people at the consulate, she left in the consulate's car. That night, when the remaining people in Zhao's class saw Lily returning, they all told her what happened that day. These people had never seen the police investigation scene before, and they were all frightened. Yesterday, a bunch of terms such as temporary residence permit, fiancé certificate, etc. were thrown around so that a group of people almost didn't react. If the call from the consulate had been made later, I'm afraid Lily would have had to put in more effort to get them out again. After appeasing the members of the Zhao family team, they went back to their rooms to rest. The next day, Lily went to the Industrial and Commercial Bureau again and officially changed the existing acrobatic class under her name to Lily Acrobatic Troupe. Her original name was Zhao Family. As expected, the legal representative of the team now became Zhao Jinying. Seeing the embarrassed look on the face of the person who received her at the Industrial and Commercial office, Lily sneered in her heart and completed all the procedures so that Ganlu would not trouble her again in the future. Method. The fact that the acrobatic class was going to perform abroad was soon reported in the newspapers. This time the acrobatic class was famous and went abroad. You must know that in recent years, there have been almost no acrobatic troupes actually invited to perform abroad. On the contrary, foreign magic troupes performing masters and others became famous in China one after another. The Lily incident caused quite a stir, which made many Chinese people feel proud. Therefore, the people in the acrobatic class became popular again, sweeping away the sluggish situation some time ago. Many people who were originally some merchants who did not dare to invite Lily to perform because of the reputation of Manlu wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to offer an olive branch to Lily, but Lily refused one by one on the pretext that people in the acrobatics class needed training. Because Lily recently refused to perform and spent a few days renting a new place outside the suburbs as a training venue at a high price, she did not show up for several days in a row. However, the newspaper reported that the newly renamed Lily acrobatic class was going to perform outside. Everyone in the capital now knows that Behi has been training in the new venue for several days, staring at everyone. When he was about to go home in the afternoon, he was blocked by a group of reporters downstairs in his rented house. Ms. Zhao, I heard that you are now going to perform abroad to bring glory to the country. How do you feel about this? Miss Zhao, you changed the name of the original Zhao acrobatic class to Lily acrobatic class. Is there any reason for this? When a large number of reporters who had finally found out about Lily saw Lily, Their cameras immediately focused on Lily, and all kinds of questions came one after another. One of the reporters said sharply, "I heard that Miss Zhao once met Mr. Smith from the consulate in private. I wonder what their relationship is." When asking this question, the microphone in the reporter's hand almost hit Lily's face. Lily stretched out her fingers to clamp the microphone and pushed the crowd away. Her hand contained inner strength. Several reporters involuntarily took several steps back under the push of her son. Only after she almost regained her footing did Lily laugh, "I am very happy to be able to compete for the country. The name of Zhao's acrobatic class was changed because of my relationship with him. Mr. Zhao has different concepts and ideas. As for my meeting with Mr. Smith." When Lily said this, she prolonged her voice. Her gesture whetted the appetite of a group of reporters. When everyone was a little anxious, Lily felt when all the cameras had captured him, he said loudly, "I have heard before that there is a young lady named Gan in Beijing who dislikes me very much and bribes a former friend of mine to harm me. I am a newbie here and I don't know if I have offended any young lady named Gan in Beijing. If I'm here to say sorry to the lady named Gan for offending me, please forgive me, a wild girl from the countryside." When Lily said this, she bowed deeply to the camera. The reporters obviously, they didn't expect that what they were asking was about her relationship with people from foreign embassies in Beijing. She finally said such a thing in a cold voice. Many people were stunned for a while, and then looked at each other. There was obvious suspicion in his eyes. There are eldest ladies named Gan in Beijing, but now there is only one, Ganlu, the adopted daughter of the current mayor of the imperial capital. Who in the capital doesn't know about this crown prince's daughter? But to say that a girl from an acrobatic class would offend such a prince's daughter, everyone was a little unconvinced. Many people hesitated and did not turn off the camera to take pictures, but intentionally or unintentionally moved people up to block Lily's face. If what she said was meaningful, everyone would naturally broadcast the news. If she was talking nonsense, the scene would be cut. I wonder what Miss Zhao means. Miss Gan, could it be that Miss Zhao is referring to Miss Gan from the real estate company? At this moment, a group of reporters did not dare to offend the mayor because they did not know what was going on. Therefore, they did not dare to mention the identity of Mayor Ganlu's adopted daughter. Instead, they mentioned the name of the company she opened. Lily knew that these people were afraid of Ganlu. Mayor, she had expected such a result, so she was not surprised. After hearing the reporters' questions, she smiled, "I don't know if it's Miss Gan, but I just heard from a former companion that she accepted a certain person. Miss Gan is worth tens of thousands of dollars and is prepared to leave me disfigured and disabled. I am a small person. If I have offended anyone, I would like to apologize to Miss Gan. Although I believe that the laws of the imperial capital are fair, I speak lightly. Between me and Mr. Smith, because we know each other about the acrobatic troupe performing abroad, I had no choice but to ask Mr. Smith to beg Miss Gan for me and ask for mercy." Although Lily's words sounded nice, when everyone heard that Manlu had bribed someone to force Lily to be disfigured and disabled, they still couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. What's more, Lily's words meant that she was forced to do something by Mana. They were desperate, so they had no choice but to seek help from foreigners. After everyone got such a big revelation, they originally wanted to stop Lily and ask a few more questions, but Lily refused to say any more. Sometimes it is enough to just stop talking. Talking too much will be useless. She pushed aside the reporter's obstruction and went upstairs to return to the house. After a long time, the reporters downstairs slowly dispersed. The next day, when I got up, I went downstairs and bought a newspaper. I saw the headline of today's imperial newspaper: Zhao's daughter asked for foreign aid because of a personal grudge. Disgraced and thrown out of the country. How can a girl named Gan take revenge for her personal grudge? To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come. P.S. The third update. Thanks to Wulu Like, Dear Keek for the reward and Heshabai. Thanks to Jaya Grocery Store, dear Heshabai for the reward. Thanks to Yan Schwaning, dear He Shivi who gave the reward. A total of 3 updates are owed, and 1 more will be added after the year. Starting from tomorrow, 2 updates a day are guaranteed, and He Shivi's debt will be repaid later. Yesterday, the 3rd update was for me, Ruth Nail Grass, and the reward was added by He Shivi. The 3rd update today, K Dabeo, my dear, more update. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 514. Lily's face was mosaic under the huge title, and Ganlu's name was not fully broadcast. However, Ganlu was so famous in the imperial capital in the past, and now everyone naturally knows who the girl named Gan is talking about. These reporters, they are indeed powerful. Lily just broke the news last night. In one night, not only did they find Zhao Shuer and Zhao Lingfeng, whom they had not seen for a long time, but even the scene after the Zhao family team was forced out of Beijing was changed. When they came out, Zhao Shuer's unkempt appearance was photographed and published in the newspaper. After not seeing each other for a while, Zhao Shuer was almost out of shape, dragging a disabled leg. At this time, his face was bruised and purple after being beaten. In the photo, she looked frightened, obviously frightened and dizzy by such a wave of interviews from reporters. The reporters did not know what method they used to actually get some useful information out of her mouth, so the newspaper briefly wrote about the grudge between Ganlu and Zhao Beihe, but because of the shocking identity of the 2nd generation of the powerful, the matter of falling in love with Zhao Beihe turned out to be because of the appreciation of traditional acrobatics by a 2nd generation of powerful people, which aroused the jealousy of a certain girl named Gan. She went crazy and bribed Zhao Shuer, a member of the Zhao family, in order to harm Zhao Beihe. Throughout his life, he never expected that Zhao Shuer would be punished for evil in the end. In the end, not only did he not harm Lily, he actually suffered the consequences. Zhao Shuer's broken leg was circled in red in the newspaper, and her bruised face was also shot in close-up. Many people in the imperial capital began to guess the identity of Gan's daughter, while some people scolded Zhao Shuer. Lily saw when I read the newspaper, I saw Zhao Shuer's face in the photo that looked a little panicked, but there was a look of pride in his eyes that couldn't be concealed. Zhao Shuer's life must have been very difficult recently. She had been regretting that she shouldn't have told the story about Mana that day since her attempt to provoke Lily to attack the stone failed last time. She originally thought that after telling her, she could buy a ticket and leave the capital, as long as she was far away from Mana. She didn't believe that Ganlu's hand could stretch out so long to deal with her, so she spoke unscrupulously at that time. However, she didn't expect that Lily would not pay for her ticket after she finished speaking. Even after she said her words, Ganlu had offended someone and yet she had not run away. Well, after someone in Zhao's team was bribed by Mana again. Naturally, he told Ganlu about this, and one can imagine Zhao Shuer's fate. It is easy for Ganlu to deal with someone who has been left alone and has no one to rely on. She has almost been driven crazy recently. Zhao Lingfeng, who originally loved her deeply, cannot bear this kind of life and torture. In addition, after Zhao Shuer's accident, not only has it affected my walking, but my original beautiful appearance has also been ruined. Now that such a big thing happened, Zhao Lingfeng naturally disliked her after a long time, so he left her side more than half a year ago and started a relationship with another local girl in the imperial capital. There was no one around Zhao Shuer. She wanted to find a job but was always disturbed by the people sent by Ganlu to warn her. As time passed, Zhao Shuer could only make a living by begging, and she was a little desperate. These reporters came to the door, and Zhao Shuer told the story about Ganlu in a cruel move. She just wanted to make the matter bigger so that Ganlu would not dare to fight against her again, at least not like before. It was openly aimed at her. Zhao Shui's helpless move was really smart. After she told the story, although many people scolded her, there were far fewer gangsters who always came to trouble her as before. After all fools know by now that something went wrong soon after Zhao Shui exposed his nectar. It was obvious who was behind the scenes, so Ganlu stopped temporarily, giving Zhao Shui some breathing space. Lily thought of this and stretched out her hand to roll up the newspaper. Zhao Shui has now received the retribution she deserves. Her face is disfigured, her lover has run away, and her legs are lame. In the plot, she has now experienced the pain that Zhao Lily has suffered. After all, this person is no longer worthy of her attention. Now Zhao Shui can only use these petty tricks and cannot make any waves at all. Next, I don't know if it was because of the public's curiosity about this matter. The next day's newspaper also wrote about how people from the industrial and commercial office came to trouble Zhao Jiaban. The newspaper interviewed the industrial and commercial office, and a certain director of the industrial and commercial office was arrested. During the interview, she had an embarrassed look on her face and explained that the action against Zhao Jiaban that day was just a routine inspection, but Beihai had previously revealed that a boss named Gan from Jingzhou wanted to persecute her behind her back, so this matter was inevitable. Being related to Ganlu, the company registered under Ganlu's name has recently been exposed. Lily's fight back this time has caused a lot of trouble for Ganlu. Although so far, no reporter has dared to do so because of Mayor Gan. He came to interview her, but when Ganlu thought about how she almost capsized in the sewer, and when the adopted daughter of her dignified mayor was tricked by a low-status acrobat, she couldn't help but feel angry in her heart. When I see today's newspapers alluding to the fact that my company relies on my adoptive father, even if it is true that Manlu relies on my adoptive father from the company's development to the present, in the past, even if others knew this in their hearts, who would dare to say it? Now being reported like this, Ganlu felt a burst of anger in her heart. She had a gloomy face at this time, and her biological parents, who also looked ugly, were sitting next to her. Things had become too big recently, and Ganlu had been in a row for several days. She didn't dare to show up, and many people didn't dare to talk about her openly, but they were gossiping about her secretly. When Ganlu thought of this, she couldn't help but cursed Lily several times, with a cruel look in her eyes. Mom and Dad, the little bitch named Zhao has made things bigger and bigger recently. I can't take this risk. Why don't I take out 100,000 and find someone to give her to? Ganlu originally thought that it would not be difficult to deal with a Lily, especially since she was the adopted daughter of the mayor. It should have been easy to deal with a lowly acrobat, but now she has turned upside down. This made Ganlu very angry. At this time, in front of her biological parents, she stretched out her hand and made a gesture of slitting her throat. Spend some money to find someone to create an accident, and no one will be aware of it, even if someone suspects it who dares to say anything about me. She no longer wants to be entangled with Lily. The more Lily is exposed, the easier it is for the Gans to see her. Ganlu is now trying every means to stop Mayor Gan and his wife from reading the newspaper every day, but she can't stop her for a while. If Lily continues to expose her, no matter how hard she stops, one day her appearance will be seen by Gan and his wife. No need for now, you call your adoptive father and ask him to find a way to suppress this matter. Ganlu's mother's eyes rolled, and she couldn't help but think about it. When the time comes, he will suppress this matter. After she goes down, you can ask your adoptive parents to do something else. Put Zhao Beihai in jail, lock her up for 1.5 years, and then release her. After the news about this matter subsides, you can pay someone to put her in jail. It's all gone this way, the real thing is unnoticed, not to mention that it may be much more appropriate for Mayor Gan to come forward than Ganlu to do it himself. Ganlu's biological parents have been local officials for several years. Now his gaze is much sharper than before. When Ganlu's father heard this, he also nodded. It's just that your adoptive father is much more capable than you. Don't show off your skills. What's more, Zhao Beihe was wrongfully prosecuted by his biological father. Wouldn't this make you even more angry? Ganlu's biological parents are now a little disappointed with their daughter, but she has never been able to accomplish a small thing. So much so that it has become more and more serious now. If they had known it would lead to a situation like this, they should have taken action themselves when they received the news to go to Beijing, so they would not be so passive now. At first, Ganlu was a little unhappy when she was accused, but then she heard her parents' suggestions and thought that Lily had caused so many obstacles for her. If Lily was wrongly accused by her biological parents without knowing it, she would go to jail. It is indeed possible to express the bad breath in one's heart, Ganlu Guang thought like that. She couldn't help but start to feel refreshed. She and her parents looked at each other and smiled, and then took out the mobile phone from her bag. When receiving a call from Ganlu, although Ms. Gan comforted Ganlu a few words and promised to find a solution for her, she allowed Ganlu to act coquettishly and did not tell her about her hint that her husband would arrest Zhao's acrobatic class. Er agreed, but after losing her own daughter, Ms. Gan really treated Ganlu as her own daughter, and poured her original love for her biological daughter into Ganlu, so now her adopted daughter has provoked so many trouble. Although Ms. Gan felt a little headache, she still went to her husband to discuss it immediately. Now Lily's acrobatic team has contacted people from abroad. At this juncture, Lily is doing good things to promote traditional Chinese culture. It is not the right time to trouble her, not to mention that Mayor Gan thinks that children, in fact, it was inconvenient for him to come forward in the little fight between them, but because the matter related to his adopted daughter, Mayor Gan hesitated for a while, and finally decided to ask Ms. Gan to call Lily and ask her if she would like to. This matter has turned into hostility. If Lily is willing, he can calm down this matter, even if he opens a back door to Zhao's acrobatic class and gives them some convenience. After getting her husband's reply, Ms. Gan easily found the company phone number Lily had registered and dialed the number. Lily had just gotten off the wire bridge. Lily's acrobatic class was scheduled to go abroad as a missionary in 3 months. Recently, people from the embassy were helping the people in the acrobatic class to go through various procedures for passports and going abroad. Taking advantage of this period, some people went back to their hometowns to apply for ID cards. Many people in the older generation were not used to this kind of ID card when people from Zhao's acrobatics class traveled all over the country. But these people did not expect that they would still be able to go abroad now. Opportunities. So many people who haven't had time to apply for identity documents are now returning to their hometowns in a panic in order to go abroad. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come. P.S. I'll try to finish the next chapter, I'm not sure. Dear friends, some of us were rejected by the management because of joining the group yesterday. I would like to apologize to everyone. My dears, please reapply to join the group. Wrongley's extra story will be released at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. When joining the group, write down your Dian Yang's name and fan value. Since the novel has been written so far, the number of words is quite a lot. The management may think that the fan value should be higher than that of a disciple, and a disciple has to spend 20. If it does not reach 20, it will be displayed as an apprentice, but in fact, he was still an apprentice if he only spent 5 yuan, so the management might not be familiar with Dian Niang, so he refused. So when you apply, please attach your fan value and grab the red envelope tomorrow night. Group ID, 239461614. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 515. The acrobatic troupe was deserted at this time. Lily felt the internal energy in her body slowly moving around. When she jumped from the tightrope, her body was very light. The moment her toes landed on the ground, there were barely a few grains of dust on the ground. But the members rehearsing around did not notice this. When the cell phone in her backpack rang, Lily picked up the handkerchief and wiped the sweat from her face. Then she took the cell phone handed to her by someone in the group. It had an unfamiliar phone number on it. After Lily connected the phone, she asked politely, "Hello, Lily Zhao, who are you?" There was a pause on the other end of the phone while she was speaking. After a long while, a woman's voice rang, "Hello, Miss Zhao, my husband's surname is Gan. Maybe you don't know me, but between you and my daughter Ganlu there seems to be some misunderstanding. Are you free, Miss Zhao? I want to talk to you. After all, it is better to resolve enemies than to end them. If there is any misunderstanding, it would be better to clarify it than to continue like this. What do you think, Miss Zhao?" Ms. Gan on the other end of the phone originally paused for some reason when she heard Lily's voice, and a throbbing feeling instinctively surged through her body. She had no intention of meeting Lily, but this time later, Ms. Gan's instinctive sixth sense told her that she should meet Lily, so when the invitation to meet came out of her mouth, not only Lily was stunned for a moment, but even Ms. Gan herself paused. When Behi heard that the woman calling said her surname was Gan, she knew that she must be Ganlu's adoptive mother. Recently, thanks to the news media, Zhao Behi didn't actually know Ganlu's origins in the plot. In the plot, Lily Zhao could not find out the identity of the big boss behind the scenes even until her death. Later, she only knew that her surname was Gan, and she did not even know where the enemy came from. She died unjustly, but after Lily was in the news last time, although the news media did not type out Ganlu's full name, they did mention her wealth and background. Therefore, Lily knew that Ganlu was the adopted daughter of the current mayor of the imperial city, and was very favored by the mayor and his wife. He has praised Ganlu several times in public for not being his biological daughter, but she is no different from her biological daughter. The relationship is so close that Ganlu was not originally named Gan, but in the end she changed her surname to Gan. Now the personal grudge between himself and Ganlu actually caused the mayor's wife to call him personally to mediate the grudge. This shows that Ganlu has an extraordinary status in the hearts of the mayor and his wife. Lily sneered, "But some grievances can be adjusted, but some grievances are so stubborn that there is no way to reconcile them." In the plot, the nectar forced Zhao Behi to despair, and finally died miserably in the imperial city. At that time, Zhao Behi had no power and power. No ability. Disfigured and lame, the mayor's wife at that time was nowhere to be found. That is to say, Lily, a little person, has become a nail in her hand, so she attracted the attention of the mayor's wife and wanted to show up for Gan. "I'm sorry, madam. Miss Gan and I don't know each other. Maybe there is some misunderstanding. However, it is impossible for a little person like me to offend Miss Gan. I think Miss Gan may have some misunderstandings about me. Madam, why not talk to Miss Gan? Let's talk." Zhao Behi, a performer, and Ganlu, the mayor's foster daughter, are very different in their identities. Is there any misunderstanding that can be explained? Two people with completely unequal status. Originally there was no intersection at all, but just because of a word from the powerful second generation, Ganlu was going to ruin Zhao Behi's life. Now that Lily has caused trouble, the Gan family wants to come forward to clean up the aftermath for Ganlu. Although the mayor's wife was not overbearing and spoke very politely and gently, Lily still had no good impression of the person named Gan when she thought of the fate of the original owner in the plot, so she declined Ms. Gan's request to meet and was preparing to meet. When she hung up the phone with a few more polite words, Ms. Gan on the other end sighed dubiously. "I believe there is a misunderstanding. I have watched this child Ganlu grow up." Lily didn't want to meet Ms. Gan, and Ms. Gan naturally heard it. She was not prepared to force it, although she felt a little regretful in her heart. But Ms. Gan didn't think deeply about it at the moment. In the eyes of Gan and his wife, Ganlu has always been well behaved and lovely. Mrs. Gan originally didn't believe that she would bully others. After Ganlu came to the city, she also had a sense of proportion. Although she acted in a high-profile manner over the years, she had never caused any trouble for her husband. Mrs. Gan originally took the initiative to call Lily and offered to mediate the conflict, which was to show her fair stance. She had no intention of using her power to bully others, but now Lily refused. Mrs. Gan felt a little unhappy. She had been in power for a long time, and it was rare in this imperial city to encounter someone who didn't give her face like this. Logically speaking, she should have a bad impression of Lily, and Mrs. Gan shouldn't have wanted to meet others. Reluctantly, but somehow, it was hard for Mrs. Gan to feel disgusted with the girl on the other end of the phone. She didn't even know why, but she still wanted to meet Lily. Therefore, after hearing Lily's rejection, Mrs. Gan originally wanted to say, "Since it's inconvenient to meet, forget it." When the words came to his lips, he changed to, "From the sound of your voices, you should be about the same age. If there are any misunderstandings, we should clarify them in person. I hope Miss Zhao can take some time to come." I don't know why Mrs. Gan on the other end of the phone insisted on meeting her. Lily didn't want to see her at first, but there was really nothing to do in the middle of the afternoon. With the improvement of her martial arts, her acrobatics were not a problem at all, let alone walking now. On a 20-meter steel wire, even if she is allowed to jump from 2 skyscrapers with a gap of tens of meters, it will not be a problem. As a practice for others to see, Lily now does not need to move most of the steel wire like the original owner did. As her mind was focused on acrobatics, Mrs. Gan repeatedly asked to meet. After the person called, his tone was gentle and polite, not as arrogant as she imagined, so Lily hesitated and agreed. "In that case, I have time in the afternoon. Where can Mrs. Gan go?" When she heard Lily agreed to meet, Mrs. Gan was overjoyed for a moment. "Where is Miss Zhao now?" "I'll come directly." Mrs. Gan's current status is not suitable for appearing in some public places, some high-end places. She also felt that Lily was just a performer and might not know about it, so she thoughtfully asked Lily's address. However, Lily didn't want to meet the lady in the acrobatic troupe, so she still insisted on asking the lady to set a location. After the two made an appointment to meet at a high-end club, they hung up the phone. After Mrs. Gan hung up the phone, she stood for a long time, and then she began to hurriedly ask someone to find clothes and put on makeup for her. She didn't know why she was so solemn, but there was an inexplicable voice telling her in her heart, "This should be done." Mrs. Gan ate a little absent-mindedly during lunch, and was teased by her husband as if she was going on a date with her beloved. Mrs. Gan ignored her. Before the agreed time in the afternoon, Mrs. Gan arrived early. Arriving at the club an hour later, she looked at her watch uneasily. She was originally worried that Lily would be late. After all, young girls in this era were rarely punctual for appointments. She sometimes made appointments with Ganlu, and Ganlu would occasionally be about half an hour late. Mrs. Gan was afraid that Lily would not be able to find the club she had booked. Seeing that it was almost a quarter of an hour before the agreed time, when Mrs. Gan was about to call Lily, the waiter led a man who was about 20 years old. The beautiful girl who looked calm knocked on the door of the box. When she heard the footsteps, Mrs. Gan stood up. When she saw the figure behind the waiter with his head lowered, her heart began to beat bang bang for some reason. At this time, Lily, her long hair was tied into a ponytail, and she looked fresh and refreshing. She was not as fussy as she imagined, but rather very generous. When she saw Lily's features, Mrs. Gan was shocked. When she first saw Lily, she just felt an indescribable familiarity and kindness. This face was really similar to the face of her husband, whom she had seen for more than 20 years, and there was also a faint shadow of herself. Gan Madam was covered in cold sweat all of a sudden, and the hairs on her body stood up. It was June in the imperial capital, and the air conditioner was on in the private room, which was very comfortable. At this time, Madame Gan felt a little uncomfortable on her back. Got chills. Hello, Madame. After Lily entered the box, she nodded to Ms. Gan. The waiter withdrew and pulled the door thoughtfully. However, Ms. Gan's eyes widened and she stared straight at Lily. Look, she only felt that her throat was dry and her eyes were a little astringent. When Lily smiled politely at her, she seemed to have seen herself when she was young. Ms. Gan's throat was so stiff that she could not speak. She heard him saying hello to her, but Ms. Gan couldn't react. Lady. Lily saw this stunned woman. She was very well maintained. She looked to be in her 30s. She was wearing an elegant dress. Her black hair was tightly pulled into a bun and pinned behind her head. She wore light makeup. She is graceful, with a gentle temperament, which makes people fall in love easily, but at this moment, she seems to have seen some incredible scene. Staring at herself intently, Lily frowned, and was about to speak again. But Ms. Gan licked her lips and her eyes became a little blurry. It's so similar. As she spoke, her hands trembled and she touched the bag she was holding on her body. Her face turned pale. Lily saw how trembling she was, and the handbag originally held on her wrist seemed a little unsteady. She didn't know what to look for in the bag, but her fingers were trembling and she couldn't even open the zipper of the bag. Do you need my help, madam? To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 516. Seeing Ms. Gan's expression change instantly, Lily sighed and walked towards her. She originally wanted to reach out and feel her pulse, but before her hand could touch Ms. Gan took her pulse with her backhand. Her palms were pulled, and her palms were smooth, and she could feel that they were a pair of pampered hands, especially compared to Zhao Beihi's hands that had become rough from practicing acrobatics since childhood. These hands were surprisingly delicate, but at this time, her palms were extremely cold, and a lot of cold sweat broke out in her palms. She used very strong force at this moment, as if she had grabbed something important, and held Lily tightly with her backhand. The strength of the grip was so tight that the back of Lily's hand ached. Like. Ms. Gan murmured, and a cold shiver rose up from her spine. She had been inexplicably panicked when she came out before, but now it seemed that everything was foreshadowed. She actually saw someone who was the same as herself. The husband and wife looked so similar to each other. At this moment, Ms. Gan's mind went blank and her eyes were sore. Somehow, she thought of her daughter who had been lost for almost 20 years. She was biting her lips and holding onto her with one hand. Lily, one hand subconsciously wanted to reach out and touch Lily's face. When she felt her movement, Lily couldn't help but tilt her head back to avoid Ms. Gan's movement. She glanced at this graceful and elegant woman in surprise. She couldn't believe that the mayor's wife would do this. Such rude behavior. Lady. Let me see. When Ms. Gan's hand fell, she saw Lily's evasive movements, and tears suddenly welled up in her originally sour eyes. She begged softly, while holding on to Lily tightly, as if she was afraid that Lily would run away. She stretched out her hand and started to turn over her bag, but she couldn't open it with one hand at all. The lady opened the zipper of the bag angrily and poured out the contents. She grabbed the phone and quickly pressed a few numbers. After dialing the number, she started crying. Lao Gan, come quickly. Lily suddenly felt a little wronged. She hadn't done anything yet, but Ms. Gan began to ask for help. After she entered the box, Ms. Gan looked at her as if she had seen a ghost, and now she was holding onto her tightly. And even called someone to come over, even though Lily had martial arts skills at the moment. She wasn't afraid of what Ms. Gan would do to her, but she was pulled in for no reason. Seeing MRS Gan's unstable expression, Lily couldn't help but think of the recent scams on TV. She heard that some people he just likes to pretend to be a certain person, deceive himself and then pretend something is wrong. Then he grabbed the deceived person and refused to let him go, and finally ended up in the hospital. The person who was deceived has to come up with a certain amount of money to compensate. Thinking of this, Lily's expression suddenly became a little wary. Recently, Ganlu was waiting for an opportunity to punish her. If she was blackmailed into the hospital, it would definitely be one of the scandals at the forefront. If Ganlu took advantage of it, with this opportunity, it would be much easier to deal with her than before. Lily subconsciously stretched out her hand to shake MRS Gan away. She had never seen MRS Gan before, but now others said she was MRS Gan. He was careless and fell into the trap. Lily was about to run away, but MRS Gan, who had been thrown away by Leng Hui, subconsciously threw the phone away when she saw her move, stretched out her hand to stop Lily and hugged her. "Madam, I don't have any money." The lady didn't know what kind of stimulation she had. The strength of her arms holding Lily was so strong that Lily was locked tightly by her and couldn't struggle for a while. A person who knew martial arts was caught tightly by a person who didn't know how to martial arts. MRS Gan didn't know where the strength came from, and she hugged her tightly. No matter how hard Lily tried, she couldn't pull her away. In the end, the two sitting on the sofa together, MRS Gan hugged Lily and felt the soft girl in her arms. It was as if her empty heart had been filled all of a sudden over the years. She couldn't help but cry uncontrollably. Got up. When Mayor Gan arrived, he opened the box door and saw that his always decent and elegant wife was hugging a helpless girl. She was crying and sweating profusely. The slender girl was now with her back to him. She couldn't see clearly. She could only see her long ponytail and straight back. Mayor Gan was startled when he just received the call from MRS Gan. He dropped his official duties and ran over. Seeing that MRS Gan was fine, he was relieved for a moment. Just as he was about to speak, Lily heard someone at the door. When he heard the voice, he turned around helplessly. Mayor Gan's eyes widened when he turned around, and he was frowning. "Old Gan, come and see, look at these eyes, look at this face, look at this nose and this mouth." MRS Gan was already a little incoherent at this time. When she saw her husband, she seemed to have fallen into the water. The person grasped a piece of driftwood, stretched out her hand to loosen Lily a little, but she was still afraid that Lily would run away, and she still held her hand tightly at this moment. She originally wanted to use her free hand to go. He touched Lily's face, but Lily tilted her head back to avoid it. "Does it look like it?" MRS Gan glanced at her husband. Mayor Gan, who had just entered the door, glanced at Lily a little excitedly. He was much calmer than MRS Gan. Now he glanced at Lily and nodded calmly. "Girl, what's your surname? What's your name? Where do you come from?" Unlike MRS Gan, who just caught Lily and just cried, he sat aside and started asking about Lily's situation. Lily saw this. Mayor Gan also felt a little weird. Although she rarely looked in the mirror after entering the mission, she still knew the appearance of the original owner. This Zhao Bei, he looked so similar to the middle-aged man who came in later, like if Lily Zhao's face had a Chinese character face and a beard shadow, she would almost look like Mayor Gan when he was young. Listening to his question, Lily hesitated for a moment and then explained the identity and background of the original owner. When they heard that Zhao Bei he grew up in an acrobatic troupe, and was sold into the acrobatic troupe by his family at the age of 3, the couple looked at each other excitedly. Unfortunately, Zhao Bei he was too young when he was sold, and could no longer remember who he was. After hearing the name of the city where he was selling, Mayor Gan cleared his throat. "To tell you the truth, I had a daughter who was abducted by a kidnapper when I went to the countryside to be an educated youth. Girl, you look very similar to me. We are of the same age, and I want to do a paternity test with you." At this moment, Lily actually already knew in her mind whether Lily Zhao was the daughter of the couple in front of her. When she heard this middle-aged man's request for a paternity test, she couldn't help but smile. No need, I'm living a good life now. I can't even remember what happened before if this couple is really the legendary Mayer couple, and if the man who framed her all this time is their adopted daughter. Lily will have to. It's a huge irony to say this, although it is a good thing that the original owner can find his biological parents. But in fact, the real original owner has long since disappeared, and the person who replaced her is just herself. If it is known that Ganlu's adoptive parents are Zhao Beihe's biological parents, what will happen to Zhao Beihe, who died tragically in the plot? Knowing the truth is sometimes not a pleasant thing. Knowing some things is more ironic than not knowing it. People who should really enjoy all this are killed by nectar. Now I am just a person seeking justice for Zhao Lily. Seeing that Lily refused when she made the request, Mrs. Gan, who was originally full of hope, couldn't help crying anxiously. She held on to Lily and refused to let go, while staring at Lily pleadingly. Be good, be obedient, I want to find my daughter. I want to find my daughter. Even if Ganlu Chenghuan has been with me over the years, even if Ganlu has changed her surname. She behaved very well in front of Mr. and Mrs. Gan, but no matter how well behaved the child was, she was still regretful that she was not her own. She still missed her biological daughter. No matter how good her adopted daughter was, how could she be compared with her own daughter? At this moment, he was holding on to Lily, fearing that she would leave, and he was coaxing and begging, I know it hurts to draw blood. Just bear with it, bear with it. I beg you. I don't know if being a mother makes you stronger, but Mrs. Gan seemed unwilling to let Lily go. Lily didn't want to have anything to do with them at first, but seeing the determined looks on both their faces, Mrs. Gan finally had no choice but to let her go. Sighing, he nodded helplessly and agreed. When she agreed, Mrs. Gan cried and laughed. She reached out and touched her hair. Although she hadn't had a real blood test yet, blood was thicker than water after all. When she saw her biological child, even though they haven't seen each other for many years, there is always an inexplicable feeling in her heart. Mrs. Gan believed that Lily was her daughter. She held Lily's hand and tidied up her image with a handkerchief. She was deeply afraid of Lily. As if laughing at her, she hurriedly straightened her hair. After they sat there for a while, Mayor Gan called the driver to wait for her downstairs, and then they left the box. As the car drove all the way to the identification center, Mrs. Gan took Lily's hand and began to ask about her situation. When she heard her talk about the training scene, Mrs. Gan's eyes were filled with tears. If only I knew who dares to abduct my daughter. I want her life. Mrs. Gan has been tortured and exhausted over the years. Whenever she thinks of the daughter she lost when she was young, Mrs. Gan always feels heartbroken. At this time, when she was already sure that Lily was her daughter, she heard Lily say that she was sold into the acrobatic troupe since she was a child. Her daughter, who was originally a golden girl, had suffered so much, and Mrs. Gan couldn't stop crying. Come down. When they arrived at the appraisal center, Mayor Gan had notified them in advance. As soon as they got off the car, they were secretly taken to an office by people from the appraisal center. Someone came to draw blood for Mr. Gan, his wife, and Lily respectively. Logically speaking, the results were it had to wait a few days, but at this juncture, Mayor Gan was eager to know the results, so he used special connections. The results that were supposed to wait a few days were sent to the Gans and his wife a few hours later. Superior. When they saw the result showing something like 99%, the Gans couldn't help crying. After nearly 20 years of pain in their hearts, they finally found their daughter. Even Mayor Gan, who had always been introverted, looked excited at this time. Compared to the complicated emotions of the two couples, Lily she looked calm. After the two people finished crying and insisted on taking their daughter back to their knees, Lily still rejected them. MRS Gan's tearful look did not change Lily's decision. After all, she was no longer the real one. Zhao Beihe, in fact, the real daughter of these two couples had died at the hands of Ganlu, who was arrogant because of their relationship. Although Lily knew that she should not be angry with them, but thinking about the fate of the original owner in the plot, Lily had no way to use her identity as the original owner to enjoy all these things that she did not deserve, even if she knew that if she agreed to return to the Gan family at this time, beneath the knee, there will be countless benefits. Under the pleading and cautious eyes of the two couples, Lily stood up. She had been out for most of the day today, and it was already dark outside. "I'm sorry, sir, I've been out for a long time, now I want to go back." After knowing that Lily was their biological daughter, but hearing that their daughter refused to call them parents, the Gan couple naturally felt heartbroken. MRS Gan did not want to be separated from Lily. But they had just found their daughter, and both of them were cautious, fearing to offend Lily. After a few words of coaxing to see that Lily was resolute, MRS Gan had no choice but to reluctantly send Lily back with tears in her eyes. When the car was halfway through, MRS Gan's cell phone, which had been staring closely at Lily, suddenly rang. When MRS Gan saw Ganlu's name on her phone, she answered the call impatiently. "Hello Lulu." At this moment, MRS Gan was so excited that she found her daughter. She wished she could share it with everyone in the world. At this time, she had forgotten that Ganlu was her adopted daughter. But when she heard Ganlu's voice, instinctively, "Lulu. I saw Lily, she is my daughter." Ganlu originally wanted to call MRS Gan and ask her how she had done with the thing she asked her to do. She spent the whole day imagining what would happen if Lily was killed by her biological parents whom she had never met. Whenever she thought of such consequences, Ganlu felt a little happy in her heart for no reason, but she waited until night with no results. When I couldn't bear it anymore, I called to ask about the progress of the matter, but I didn't expect that I didn't get the surprise. Instead, I heard MRS Gan say that she had found her biological daughter, and she met Zhao Beihe. At this time, Ganlu felt panicked and angry. She cursed subconsciously and asked in a sharp voice, "What? Did you see her? Do you know?" Her reaction at this moment was purely subconscious. As soon as she finished speaking, Ganlu knew something was wrong. Before she could react, MRS Gan was keenly aware of the unhappiness in her words and the phrase "you know." Although MRS Gan was a little excited to find her daughter at this time, her rationality and emotions were still there. When she heard this, her eyes narrowed. "Lulu, you already knew." When Ganlu on the other end of the phone heard MRS Gan's rhetorical question, she was so confused that she hung up the phone subconsciously. MRS Gan was originally smiling, but now her expression quickly turned gloomy. From this clue, MRS Gan instinctively sensed that something was wrong. However, she had just found her daughter, and she did not put it aside. The suspicion deep in her heart showed. She first sent Lily back to the acrobatic class with great reluctance. Along the way, she even looked at the environment of Lily's current rented house. When she heard that people from the industrial and commercial office had come to find trouble before, MRS Gan frowned and said nothing. She just felt sorry for her daughter living in such an environment and still practicing hard every day. She went to the acrobatic venue to have a look. When she saw the dangerous venue, she thought of her daughter's past. Perhaps after practicing countless times in such a dangerous place, her heart was suddenly torn. She became even more resentful towards the people who abducted her daughter at this moment, just because she didn't want to affect her joy at finding her new daughter. She was willing to. The lady said nothing. On the way back, she told Mayor Gan about Ganlu's strange behavior, and the couple began to investigate what happened that year. It was natural that Ganlu's secrets about everything Zhao Beihe had done came to light. Mayor Gan and his wife had never thought before that the sweet adopted daughter in front of them had such a ferocious side behind their backs. They even began to wonder if Ganlu targeted Lily like this because they had long discovered that Lily looked very similar to them. Because of this, especially when they knew that Ganlu had secretly taken their hair and obtained Zhao Beihi's blood for examination, the two of them began to feel chilled by their adopted daughter who they had cared for all these years. After knowing that Zhao Beihi might be the biological daughter of the couple, Ganlu, the adopted daughter who had always been favored by the couple, did not tell them the fact. She knew clearly what kind of torture the couple had suffered over the years for their biological daughter. She kept the matter secret, and instead began to deal with Lily Zhao behind her back. The truth that had been buried in the past, and the people who bribed the acrobatic troupe to ruin Lily's appearance and her life, went to the Industrial and Commercial Bureau. The Zhao family was forced to have no way out, etc. A series of events shocked and chilled the Gans. It would be fine if they didn't investigate these things at the beginning. Once they started to investigate, the more they investigated, the more chilling they became. Especially after knowing that Ganlu's biological parents had secretly visited the imperial capital a year ago, but did not see her and her husband, and that this time they came to the imperial capital without them knowing about it, Gan and his wife couldn't help but feel even more worried. Suspect. Terrifying things that they had never thought of in the past were now vividly before them. It was easier than imagined to find out the human trafficker who abducted Lily. Some of the old people in Zhao's acrobatic team were still there, and they were looking at Zhao. Some of the old people who were part of the team that Lily was sold to are still here, and some people still vaguely remember the people who sold Zhao Beihi to the team. The Gans and their wife hired professional painting talents from the police to draw the human trafficker's face. After an exact comparison, Mayor Gan couldn't help but sneer when he saw the appearance of Ganlu's biological parents. Ever since she called Mrs. Gan that day and found out that she had found her biological daughter and Ganlu said the wrong thing in anger, she had been hiding in the hotel with her biological parents like a frightened bird. Don't dare to go out. After waiting for a few days, it was calm outside and Ganlu felt a little uneasy. That night, there was a knock on the hotel door. Ganlu lived with her biological parents in one of the most luxurious hotel suites in the imperial capital. She was very impatient when someone knocked on the door in the middle of the night. It was her mother who opened the door with a curse after being awakened. A group of police officers broke in, and several bright flashlights illuminated Ganlu's mother until she almost shed tears. If you walk too much at night, you will always encounter ghosts. At first, Ganlu's mother thought that she had received a lot of benefits secretly during her years in office. But then the scandal came out, and she was scared to the point of losing most of her soul. It was only when the lights in the room were turned on and she saw Mr. and Mrs. Gan standing in front of her with cold faces that she breathed a sigh of relief. As long as the Gans and his wife are still here, it is like a protective umbrella hanging over their heads. The couple would never have bad luck, and Ganlu's mother had a smile on her face. She was used to smiling like this when she saw Mrs. Gan. Even though she had cursed Mrs. Gan in her heart for being a thief who stole her daughter, she still habitually showed a flattering smile when she saw Mrs. Gan, Lao Gan. Is it her? Mayor Gan looked cold and disgusted at this time, pointing at Ganlu's mother and asking. Several people in Zhao's team who were already quite old looked at Ganlu's mother for a while, although time had passed. It had been many years, but now after distinguishing each other for a while, everyone still nodded affirmatively. It's her. There is also a boy, so tall. Several people gestured and said the name of Ganlu's father. Judging by her appearance, Ganlu's mother was confused as a monk. When a policeman heard this, he reached out and handcuffed her behind her back. You are under arrest. What? Ganlu's mother suddenly became anxious when she heard this. When she was about to say something else, the Gans no longer wanted to say anything more to her, so someone took a black hood and covered their faces. After staying, Ganlu's father was also taken out of the house. While half asleep and half awake, Ganlu was awakened by the farce. She glanced at the Gans with some fear and uneasiness. At this time, she was wearing a silk dress. A head of finely permed and dyed curly hair was now hanging around her. Her face no longer had the calmness of the past, but she looked a little scared. "Mom and Dad, what's wrong? We don't have a daughter like you. Now we have found our biological daughter. Your parents are here." Mrs. Gan wanted to slap Ganlu twice. It was because of this family that she was separated from her own flesh and blood. In the past 20 years, Ganlu's parents were so cruel that they sold their own flesh and blood in order to let their daughter enjoy the glory and wealth. After knowing the truth, the little bitch Ganlu wanted to put her daughter to death. Mrs. Gan at this time, the eyes looking at Manlu no longer showed the kindness in the past, but instead showed disgust and resentment. When she saw her biological daughter being beaten and scolded since childhood and learning dangerous acrobatics, while Ganlu, the daughter of her enemy, was enjoying the benefits brought by her husband and wife, Mrs. Gan wanted to tear her alive. Now that she sees her daughter living in a work shed, and seeing Ganlu living in a hotel, Mrs. Gan only felt waves of pain in her chest. At this point, no matter how stupid Ganlu was, she knew that something had happened. Her legs softened and she knelt down. Thinking of the glory and wealth she had lost from now on, and all the reputation and status she might lose in the future, she became a little panicked. He shook his head. "It's not me, it's not my parents. It has nothing to do with me, it's not me." She said now that these Gans and his wife would never listen to her again, and directly asked the police to take away Ganlu's parents who were screaming. The Gans and his wife took back some of the bank cards they had given to Ganlu, and Mayor Gan began to pack them up. Ganlu came, and for several days, the once famous prince's company was under investigation. There must have been some irregularities in the Ganlu company in the past. She used to be the adopted daughter of Mayor Gan. She was very favored, and the relevant departments naturally turned a blind eye to many procedures and let her go. But now Mayor Gan wanted to punish her, so she naturally couldn't escape. Mayor Gan's methods were compared to Ganlu's way of punishing Behi. In terms of means, they are not on the same level at all. Within a few days, Ganlu's company went bankrupt, and she owed a lot of debt to her name. Debt collectors came to her door every day, chasing Ganlu like a frightened bird. Ganlu's biological parents were suspected of child trafficking and malpractice for personal gain, and were punished for several crimes. The two couples were sentenced to 10 years in prison together, but during their lifetime. Mayor Gan will definitely not let go of the person who hurt his daughter, so it is almost impossible for the couple to get out of prison in this life. A few days ago, Ganlu's parents thought about sending Lily to jail, but they didn't expect that he was the one who ended up in jail. Mayor Gan greeted the people in the jail, and after they entered the cell, what awaited them it will be a life of dire straits. Now Ganlu was living the life of Lily Zhao before. She was driven almost crazy by the debt collectors, and she moved out of the mansion where the Gan family used to live for her. Instead, she rented a small room, but her creditors could always find her. Her phone would ring in the middle of the night every day, and the word "pay off debt" would always be spray painted in red paint on her door. She did not dare to go out. In the end, she even pawned all her former famous brands, but she didn't have enough for food and accommodation. When the nectar arrived and she couldn't stand it anymore, she had no choice but to go out and try to get money. However, a group of princelings from Beijing who used to call her sisters treated her like a god of plague. She couldn't borrow money. Her fiancé had long since cut off contact with her, and she even encountered a group of gangsters on her way home who wanted to rob her. Finally, when they knew she had no money, they beat her up and kicked her and threw her in the alley. Thinking of her past life, Ganlu couldn't help crying sadly. She was in pain and hungry now, but not only did she have no money to go to the hospital, she didn't even have money to fill her stomach. When Lily stood at the entrance of the alley and listened to Ganlu's suppressed cry, she couldn't help but laugh softly. She picked up a brick on the ground and waited for a long time. After no one passed by nearby, she walked towards the alley. In the past, the nectar in the plot had made Lily Zhao homeless, caused Lily Zhao to be disfigured, and even became lame. Now it was finally time for her to take revenge with her own hands. While Ganlu was crying, she heard the sound of soft footsteps. In the dim light of the alley, she saw the bricks that Lily was twisting. Ganlu suddenly became a little wary. She sat up in a hurry and was about to run. Her long hair was suddenly grabbed by Lily, and a brick hit her face with huge force. With a click, Ganlu felt severe pain on her face. Her nose was sore, and the bridge of her nose seemed to be broken on the spot. Before she could scream, the brick hit her face hard again. Lily calmly, after hitting her twice, and seeing that Ganlu's face was bruised and bloody, and several of her front teeth were broken, Lily threw the bricks aside and stepped hard on Ganlu's leg. On the bone. Ah! A shrill scream came from Ganlu's mouth. After Lily was sure that both of Ganlu's kneecaps had been shattered, she moved her feet away and said, "It's clear between us." She was not prepared to take Manlu's life. She also wanted to let Mana taste the feeling of having no place to complain about her grievances and no place to talk about her sufferings. In the plot, Zhao Beihe was disfigured by nectar, and now she will be disfigured by nectar. In the plot, Zhao Beihe was limped by nectar, and now she is also lame by nectar. Tit for tat, finally she got this opportunity. After taking her revenge, Lily turned and left the alley without even looking at the weak Mana lying on the ground. That night Ganlu was found and sent to the hospital. Her nose was broken, her front teeth were almost knocked out, and her kneecaps were shattered. Even if she had the money to cure her, she would never be able to stand up in this life, but Ganlu was unable to stand up now. She still had no money at all. After the hospital gave her simple treatment, it realized that she had no money at this time and could not contact her family members. When no one signed, they finally saved Ganlu's life and transferred her to an ordinary hospital ward. In the plot, Lily Zhao's situation of having no money for medical treatment now falls on Ganlu. She was disfigured and injured, and was kicked out of the hospital. She shouted that she knew who hurt her, and she wanted to call the police, but the police they refused to file a case against her at all. After all, she was not the crown prince back then, but the enemy of the mayor and his wife. She had no place to complain about her grievances and no place to talk about her pain. After slowly recovering from her injuries, her face was ruined. The leg was also lame. Ganlu cursed Lily and complained about the unfairness of the world, but there was nothing he could do about his current situation. Lily felt happy after taking revenge. A few months later, Lily's acrobatic troupe went abroad to perform, and she became famous all over the world. She did not rely on the reputation of Gan and his wife, but she still made a name for herself. Zhao, the acrobatic class, has become a Chinese treasure and a representative of traditional culture. The Zhao acrobatics class that Zhao Jinying led in the past had originally received a promise from Ganlu to support them. However, Ganlu was now unable to protect himself, so naturally he could no longer support them. After a period of time, Zhao's acrobatic class, the acrobatic class, couldn't survive at all. The people who left with Zhao Jinying in the past cursed Zhao Jinying half to death in their hearts. Many people coveted Lily's acrobatic class now that it was successful and famous. When they wanted to come back, it was easy to leave at first, but it is difficult to go back now. Looking at their former colleagues who now have much higher status than before, driving cars in and out, and living in bright houses, many people feel regretful. But how can there be any regret medicine in the world? Gan and his wife have always wanted to recognize their daughter, but Lily thought of Zhao Beihe's suffering in the plot and did not agree to the couple's request. The couple vented their resentment on Ganlu's parents. Ganlu's parents were imprisoned for 10 years. When he arrived, he finally couldn't bear the torture in prison, and passed away in pain one after another. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 517. When she returned to the starry sky from the mission, Lily breathed a long sigh of relief. When she saw Li Yangzi waiting for her in the starry sky, he had already opened his arms. Lily had a smile on her face and ran towards him. The mission is accomplished. When Li Yangzi hugged her into his arms, Lily's information appeared in front of the two of them with his words. Gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 84, out of 100. Appearance, 90, out of 100. Physical strength, 77, 100 full points. Force, 52, out of 100 points. Spirit, 82, out of 100. Reputation, 45, out of 100 points. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique, Star Body Training Technique. Specialties, Advanced Cooking Skills, Advanced Acting Skills, 5 Elements, and Bagua, slightly dabbled in. Charisma, 66, out of 100. Impression, Royal Dragon Spirit. After the completion of this mission, in addition to adding a point to the force value that Li Yangzi promised to give as a gift, the reputation and charm values have each increased by a point. Now with the increase in his attribute values, if he wants to complete the mission as dramatically as before, it is no longer easy to increase attribute values, but except for the low force value, Lily is now very satisfied with the other attribute values. She stayed in the space for a while, and then was sent to the task again by Li Yangzi. Inside. Miss, are you okay? A soft female voice rang in Lily's ears while she was dazed, and she shook her head subconsciously. The gentle female voice seemed to have asked her if she needed any air sickness medicine. When Lily slowly opened her eyes, they were still a little foggy for a while, and she only saw a slender figure wearing a blue skirt standing in front of her. He was talking to her. Do you feel better, miss? Once she opened her eyes, Lily's thoughts quickly sobered up. Her originally hazy sight quickly became clear. The feeling of her body shaking and the white clouds passing by the window made Lily realize what she had done after entering the mission. This body should be on a plane, and the person bending over in front of her with a worried look on her face was a flight attendant. Although she hasn't received the memory yet, looking at the worried look on the stewardess's face, Lily can guess that the original owner must have been airsick before she entered the mission. She pursed her lips and smiled at the stewardess, shaking her head. He shook his head. I felt a little uncomfortable just now, but I'm much better now. Her voice was a little soft when she spoke. The flight attendant's eyes were clearly filled with surprise when she saw her smile. Then she nodded politely and said, "Okay, if Miss feels uncomfortable in any way, please inform me as soon as possible." After that, at this point, the stewardess smiled at Lily. Then she returned to her original post. At this moment, Lily was in the first-class cabin on the plane. The original owner was wearing a water-red sleeveless tight dress and a platinum bracelet on her wrist, which looked very valuable. The original owner may have a good background. Lily pulled the blanket to cover her body, curled up the original owner's exposed slender straight legs, and leaned on the small pillow. Seeing that the flight attendant had not notified the plane in advance that the plane was about to descend, so she closed her eyes and pretended to be asleep. But my mind began to pick up the plot. As Lily guessed, the background of this mission target is indeed not bad. She is the only daughter of a well-known real estate developer in China. She has been lively and generous since she was a child. Although she is a little arrogant and willful, she is straightforward and honest. She has a childhood sweetheart named Gu Tiansheng. The Gu family is also a famous businessman family in China. Unlike the Rong family, which mainly operates real estate projects, the Gu family mainly operates entertainment companies. The Gu family's entertainment company almost monopolizes the entire world of China. Almost 90% of the more famous celebrities in China are under the Gu family's name. The Gu family is a giant in the entertainment industry. The Gu family's only son, Gu Tiansheng, grew up with Rong Beihe. The two have always had a good relationship when they were young, and the two families are well matched. Therefore, after the two went to junior high school, they naturally fell in love with each other. The relationship developed into a couple. The Gu and Rong families were originally very satisfied with the affairs between the two. After all, the two families had the same status, and the appearance of the two children was a perfect match. In addition, the parents of both parties had almost watched the children grow up. They are also happy to see things between them work out, and the two of them had a very good relationship originally. The two families originally agreed to settle the marriage after the two children turned 18, and then they would settle down after they graduated. Let the two get married. Although Rong Beihe was still young when the marriage was mentioned at that time, because she had determined to be Gu Tianzhen's bride since she was a child, Rong Beihe herself was also a very independent person, so when she was in junior high school after knowing the elders' plan, she had no objection to the marriage, and the matter between her and Gu Tianzhen was settled. Rong Beihe's grades have been among the best in the class since she was a child. She comes from a good family, is beautiful, and has a very outgoing personality. She has been one of the most popular figures in the school since she was in junior high school. She is not proud of her innate advantages. She is proud of herself. She knows her own strengths and carries them forward. She is the pride in the eyes of the teachers and is also one of the idols worshipped by many students in the school. After the school had a student union in junior high school, Lily Rong was elected as one of the presidents of the student union. In her busy spare time, she also learned to handle some affairs in the student union, hosted some large-scale activities in the school, and exercised her abilities. There is a girl named Liang Saiki in her class. This girl is different from Rong Beihe. She comes from a very ordinary background and has an ordinary appearance. Girls in junior high school already know that they love beauty, but she is concerned about her appearance. It doesn't matter, she is a little fat and her grades in the class are not good. If Rong Beihe is a popular figure in the class and ranks first in every exam in the whole grade, this Liang Saiki is the complete opposite of Rong Beihe. Although her grades were not at the bottom of her grade, they were not much better. She has poor grades, is not pretty, and has a very ordinary background. Such a girl with almost no merits is naturally unpopular in the eyes of the teachers, and her classmates also consciously reject her. Whenever there are activities in the grade, many people subconsciously ignoring her, some even maliciously gave her a bad nickname because of her bloated figure. The first time Rong Beihe noticed this female classmate named Liang, it was because a classmate called her when she saw Fat Penguin. She looked neither angry nor annoyed. At that time, Rong Beihe felt that such a girl was really interesting. She began to observe this female classmate, and at first Beihe thought she had a good temper, but later she discovered that she didn't care about many things. She didn't care if someone laughed at her, or if the teacher looked down on her, let alone do the male students in the class like her? Her personality is arbitrary. She doesn't pursue dressing up or famous brands. She and Rong Beihe's competitive personality are completely like people from two different worlds. But such a person is originally different from Rong Beihe. A girl with a completely different personality from Lily ended up becoming the best friend in Lily's life. Rong Beihe has paid great attention to Liang Saiki since she started observing her. When she was bullied, Rong Beihe would take the initiative to help her. Knowing that her grades were not good, Rong Beihe would help her with tutoring, even if there were no results after tutoring. But Rong Beihe still worked hard every time. Sometimes when she saw the sweat on her cheeks when she talked about Liang Saiki, and when Rong Bei persuaded her to lose weight for Liang Saiqi's health, she was so anxious that she often found a nutritionist to arrange orders for her. But she looked indifferent to everything. Rong Bei was angry, but Liang Saiqi smiled stupidly every time, and Rong Bei could no longer be angry with her. It seems that everyone will encounter such a nemesis in life. A proud woman like Rong Bei should be aloof, but she is always very tolerant towards Liang Saiqi. Rong Bei has many friends, but for some reason she always likes her very much. Liang Saiqi, she hates a person who can't put on a smile at all, and likes a person but hates to dig into the other person. After becoming friends with Liang Saiqi, she found that Liang Saiqi has a carefree personality, as if she doesn't care about everything. After carelessly confusing the silly girl, Lily Rong began to worry about her like an old mother. Just like the ordinary heroine in every novel, there will always be a rich girl who loves to worry about her best friend. Rong Bei cares about everything about Liang Saiqi. Everyone around her knows that she has such a sister who is not a biological sister, but she is regarded as a biological sister. Every time she travels abroad, she always brings expensive gifts to Liang Saiqi. Whenever she has something delicious and fun, the first thing that comes to her mind is definitely Liang Saiqi. Apart from her fiancé Gu Tiansheng and apart from her parents, Rong Bei, who was an only child since she was a child, loved Liang Saiqi the most. When the two graduated from junior high school together, Liang Saiqi's grades were not good, and she almost failed to pass the entrance examination of an ordinary high school. For the sake of their friendship, Rong Bei found a relationship on her own and paid a large amount of sponsorship fees for Liang Saiqi. Helped her to enter the same school as herself. After entering the school, Rong Bei was still a popular figure in the school, and Liang Saiqi was still like an ugly duckling. When many people were puzzled by this combination, Rong Bei accidentally fell in love with Liang Saiqi one time. When she was bullied, she learned that Liang Saiqi did not want to enter this high school. The reason why she entered the school later was not only because Rong Bei had a strong personality and made decisions for her, but the most important thing was that when she saw her friends busy for her, she couldn't bear to refuse Lily Rong. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 518. After knowing the truth, Rong Bei felt moved and a little guilty. She didn't expect that the reason why she didn't want to leave her best friend would eventually cause trouble to her best friend, but this best friend was so considerate that she didn't mention it at all. Because of her guilt, Liang Saiqi felt even more distressed from then on. In high school, Liang Saiqi, who had always had no desires, accidentally watched a celebrity talent show, and became crazy about a boy named Lu Jing on the TV screen, who was less than 2 years older than her. That was the first time Lily Rong had known Liang Saiqi for several years and saw her falling in love with someone as if she had lost her mind. At first, she was worried that her best friend had no time to go shopping, watch movies, and eat with her every day, but she had time to collect all information about Lu Jing every day. When she felt a little jealous, Rong Bei was very pleased that she finally had a hobby for her best friend. Liang Saiqi acted like an otherworldly old monk at a young age. This originally made her a little worried, but she really liked her. Liang Saiqi, as an only child since she was a child, she treated Liang Saiqi as her own sister. Now seeing her, she finally looks like an ordinary young girl. Although Lily Rong sometimes feels as if the baby bird raised by her side has finally grown up and wants to leave. The old bird felt sad, but he was very supportive of her actions. After knowing Rong Bei for several years, Liang Saiqi never asked Rong Bei for anything. The things Rong Bei made for her in the past were all Rong Bei's own voluntary actions, but she did it for her idol Lu Jing. The first time he begged Rong Bei, Lu Jing didn't get along well. His appearance was just ordinary. In the entertainment industry, a place where handsome men and beautiful women are the most popular. Apart from his clean temperament and gentle appearance, he doesn't have any special skills. He joined the Star Talent show all because he likes to sing. Other than that, he has no special skills. Because of this, he didn't do well in the entertainment industry. Therefore, after Liang Saiki joined Lu Jing's fan support group, she learned about her idol's situation. For the first time in her life, she went to seek help from Rong Bei. Although Rong Bei herself was with the entertainment industry not relevant. She has a beautiful appearance and is a royal sister type figure. However, because of her background, she never thought of using her talents to develop into the entertainment industry. However, she has an emotion that can cause shock in the entertainment industry with just a stamp of her feet. She was the boyfriend of her childhood sweetheart, so she asked Gu Tiansheng. Signing Lu Jing to Gu's entertainment company allowed Lu Jing to stand above the best of mediocrity even if he had no merit. After having an idol, Liang Saiki, who used to be lazy, seemed to have changed. She began to focus on fashion and entertainment news that she was not interested in before. She had never lost weight before. But after she became an idol, she began to act coquettishly and begged Rong Bei to find a nutritionist to make a meal plan for her. She started studying hard every day. In order to be able to help her idol after being admitted to college, when Rong Bei was very happy about Liang Saiki's change, their high school career finally came to an end. After graduating from high school, the Rong family held an engagement ceremony for Rong Bei and Gu Tiansheng. At the engagement ceremony, the bridesmaid beside Rong Bei was Liang Saiki, who had lost a lot of weight. After the engagement, the Rong family intended to send her to study abroad. Before Rong Bei left, the person I was most worried about before was my best friend. Therefore, she told her family and fiancé to take more care of Liang Saiki. Gu Tiansheng stayed in the country because he was already an intern at Gu's. Rong Bei left Liang Saiki, a best friend whom she didn't trust, under his care. She reluctantly said goodbye to her fiancé and her best friend and left here. A piece of land, embarked on the pace of going abroad. During the few years abroad, she missed China and Liang Saiki very much. She would go back to China every year during her vacation. While reuniting with her family, she would also visit Liang Saiki. Liang Saiki was admitted to a domestic university and she became more and more popular. She became thinner, and her chubby face, which was not a beauty at first, actually became more delicate after losing weight. Gu Tiansheng and the Rong family have been supporting her studies so that she does not have to worry about tuition and living expenses, but Liang Saiki is not that kind of person. She relied entirely on others, and she worked on her own to earn money in her spare time. When Rong Bei felt distressed and blamed her for this behavior, she always smiled stupidly, letting Rong Bei treat her feeling even more helpless. Everything is changing for Liang Saiki, but her love for Lu Jing has never changed. Lu Jing has always had a hard time opening up in the entertainment industry because of his ordinary and handsome appearance. The Gu family is a businessman, and it is impossible for Lu Jing to do anything for someone who will not be able to do it in the future. People who make money invest a lot of money in packaging, so Lu Jing has always been tepid over the years. Every time Rong Bei returns to China to meet her best friend, Liang Saiki spends most of the short time they spend together talking. Lu Jing, when talking about Lu Jing, there was a look of pity on his face. A few years later, when Rong Bei graduated from a foreign university and was preparing to continue her studies to get a degree, Liang Saiki had already graduated from a domestic university and joined Gu's entertainment company, becoming the agent of her idol Lu Jing. The unknown Lu Jing suddenly became famous after she became her agent. As if overnight, Lu Jing's name spread all over the country. Even Lily Rong from abroad heard his name. Gu asked a very famous lyricist and composer to tailor a song for him. He became one of the most popular idol stars and his fans began to increase. When Rong Bei was a little curious and surprised, she finally got her master's degree. Ready to return to China. During the years abroad, she missed her family, her fiancé, and Liang Saiki. After Liang Saiki entered the Gu family, she spent much less time talking to her. Sometimes when Rong Bei missed her and took the initiative to call her, she didn't like to pick up the phone. She seemed to be busy all the time for Lu Jing. Rong Bei sometimes worried about whether she had eaten on time for Lu Jing and how her health was. Liang Saiki occasionally answered her phone, but she would finish a few words in a hurry, then hang up. Rong Bei was very excited when she was about to return to China. She personally selected a few gifts for Liang Saiki. However, when she returned to China, she didn't know if the two had been separated for several years. Rong Bei began to feel that she was just a hothead, and Liang Saiki was interested in her. Very cold, her personality has not changed, she is still the same confused look as before. Once when she went shopping with Rong Bei, she even forgot to wear a skirt and came out wearing only a pair of leggings. When Lily saw Liang Saiki's confused and cute look, when she saw her sticking out her tongue in a guilty and cute way, Liang Saiki could no longer be angry at her indifference to Lily. At the same time, the person who was much colder to her was Rong Bei's childhood sweetheart fiancé. Gu Tiansheng had been very busy after taking in the Gu family. He was so busy that he hardly had time to see her alone after Rong Bei returned to China. Sometimes Rong Bei took the initiative to call him. He would also hang up when he was about to start a meeting. Gu Tiansheng had a lot of gossip in recent years. He took over the Gu family. He was young, promising, and handsome. He was also in the entertainment industry and surrounded by beautiful women. Such a man. It is not strange to have a scandal. Rong Bei has absolute confidence in herself. Although her academic performance has always been very good, she is not a person who only knows how to study. She also likes to dress up and she has a beautiful appearance. She has a sexy figure, and many people confessed their love to her when she was abroad. She was very confident in the face of Gu Tiansheng's scandal, and did not take it to heart. On the contrary, when she heard about these things, she would put them away with a smile every time. To the back of the head. Her generous performance made the Gu family naturally like their daughter-in-law even more. When they were discussing about getting her married to Gu Tiansheng, Rong Bei agreed. She originally thought that she had grown up with her as her childhood sweetheart and had a deep affection for her. Gu Tiansheng should have agreed, but unexpectedly, Gu Tiansheng hesitated and rejected the marriage proposal. Although Rong Bei couldn't believe it, she was naturally also greatly shocked. She had always been very confident in herself and also trusted the relationship between the two. Gu Tiansheng and she had grown up together. What kind of personality did the other person have? Rong Bei felt that she knew her very well. She didn't believe that Gu Tiansheng would dislike her. Gu Tiansheng must have her in his heart, but he didn't know why but was unwilling to marry her. Rong Bei was not a person who would shrink back when things happened. I planned to give Gu Tiansheng a surprise on Valentine's Day, so that I could have a good talk with Gu Tiansheng and understand the problems between the two of them. If they really don't love each other anymore, they can just get together and part ways. But in the end, she didn't expect that she didn't give Gu Tiansheng a surprise. Instead, Gu Tiansheng gave her a big surprise. She caught Gu Tiansheng and Liang Saiki in bed and raped them. In the past, her favorite best friend, Liang Saiki, whom she regarded as a biological sister, slept with her childhood sweetheart fiancé. When she saw this fact, Rong Bei almost didn't go crazy. She and Gu Tiansheng grew up together, and she had grown up together. Knowing that she was going to marry into the Gu family in the future, she thought that Gu Tiansheng might feel lonely when she was not by his side, but she never dreamed that the person he would find when he was lonely would be the one she had always taken good care of and regarded as her. Liang Saiki is like a sister. Gu Tiansheng, who was originally allergic to the smell of perfume, blocked Liang Saiki, who was covered in perfume, behind him. The fiancé who had always stood by her side now seemed to be afraid that she would hurt the person he loved deeply, with a look on his face. Staring at her warily, Liang Saiqi still stared at her cutely and innocently as before when she made a mistake, with a look of guilt on her face. Rong Bei almost went crazy with anger, but her tutor since childhood prevented her from acting like a fool. In the end, she was extremely angry, but she still just left proudly. The two have known each other for many years, and they are good sisters in name, but in fact it has always been Rong Bei who has been unilaterally contributing. Because Liang Saiqi has a cold and indifferent personality, she has never taken the initiative to call Rong Bei. What happened this time after the incident? Liang Saiqi called Rong Bei for the first time. When Rong Bei thought of this, she couldn't help laughing sarcastically. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 519. Liang Saiqi told her that she was not with Gu Tiansheng voluntarily. She was forced to do it for Lu Jing's career and to give Lu Jing more opportunities, so she climbed into Gu Tiansheng's bed. She did not. He is not the fiancé who wants to steal Rong Lily. If Rong Bei is unhappy, Liang Saiqi is willing to say goodbye to Gu Tiansheng, but Gu Tiansheng refuses to let her go, and she is helpless. If Rong Bei no longer wants to be friends with her in the future, Liang Saiqi understands and wants to tell her sorry. Although she had known that Liang Saiqi's character was like this, when Rong Bei heard her talk about the friendship between the two in an indifferent tone, if Rong Bei wanted to continue, then she would continue, and if she didn't want to, then break it off. Rong Bei still felt desolate in her heart. Especially when she asked her fiancé to take care of this girl whom she regarded as a sister, but she didn't expect that her fiancé would take care of her on the bed in the end. Now Liang Saiqi just felt sorry for a moment and forget it. The more Rong Bei thought about it, the angrier she became, and she sneered. The phone was hung up with a sound. Although she hung up the phone, she still cared about Liang Saiqi as a friend. Even though she was a calm and rational woman like Rong Bei, at this time she still hoped that Liang Saiqi could call her again and apologize, as long as she could make her feel. Considering Liang Saiqi's sincerity, she was not an irrational person. If Gu Tiansheng really didn't like her, she would be willing to let him go. However, she didn't expect that Liang Saiqi's indifferent character would break out at this time. She did not call again. Rong Bei, I sat alone all night. The more I thought about it, the more unwilling I became. For the next time, she immersed herself in work, and no one knew about Gu Tiansheng and Liang Saiqi. People from the Rong family also asked Lily Rong why she didn't find Liang Saiqi. After all, everyone knew how close she was to Liang Saiqi before. Rong Bei couldn't express the pain in her heart. She was a proud woman. Now that she had done something stupid, how could she have the nerve to tell others about it? But she didn't say it. Paper still couldn't cover the fire. Gu Tiansheng, a playboy who played with the world, seemed to have found his true love overnight. He began to truly fall in love with Liang Saiqi. Compared with Rong Bei, who had been confident, perfect, proud, and beautiful since childhood, he felt that he really didn't like it. After all, there were many women like Rong Bei around him. On the contrary, Liang Saiqi, a cute little girl who didn't care about anything and had a confused personality, won his heart. After eating enough delicacies from the mountains and seas, he would occasionally switch to clear porridge. The side dishes surprised him, especially Liang Saiqi's rejection, which made him want to stop, so he used his power to stalk Liang Saiqi. And Liang Saiqi, who claimed that if Rong Bei was unhappy, she would turn against Gu Tiansheng. Every time Gu Tiansheng threatened Lu Jing's future, Liang Saiqi not only took the initiative to send it to Gu Tiansheng. Every time she tried her best to make him happy and comfortable, until Liang Saiqi accidentally became pregnant. For the sake of the child in her belly, Liang Saiqi finally realized that Lu Jing was just a fantasy when she was a girl. She had a child in her belly, but she didn't want to abort the child. After all, it was a life, so she decided to marry Gu Tiansheng out of desperation. When the Gu family came to break off the engagement, Rong Beihe became the laughing stock of the entire Kyoto. A beautiful, confident, and excellent girl from a rich family, in the end, she lost to an ordinary woman who was inconspicuous in everything. Many people secretly laughed at her. Did Rong Beihe do something wrong and was abandoned by the Gu family master? These two bad guys who had done wrong finally came together after many twists and turns. Rong Beihe was innocent but bore all the infamy alone. Lily felt very unwilling, especially after her bad reputation. No one dared to marry her again. The Rong family was also implicated by her. Her parents could not hold their heads up from now on. Rong's father was even embarrassed to go out to socialize anymore. Rong Lily was originally a very outstanding woman, ended up depressed all her life. She was not the one who made the mistake in this matter. She got retribution in the end, but she was the one who swallowed all the bitter consequences. Rong Beihe felt very unwilling. She wanted to let Lily breathe a sigh of relief for her, even if she didn't care about the man Gu Tiansheng. But she also wants people to know Rong Beihe's pride. It's because she doesn't care about wanting this man anymore, and it's not that this man doesn't want her. As for Liang Saiki, she did so many things for her before, but in the end she did it for a man. To repay Rong Beihe in this way, then Rong Beihe will make her eat and spit out double what she owes him, and pay back double what she owes him. Even if these bitches get together in the end, they cannot be as beautiful as in the plot. Just looks, but they have to bear all the infamy to be together. After Lily received the plot, she couldn't help but reached out and rubbed her chest. Rong Beihe's unwillingness was pressing in her heart. After receiving the plot, it seemed like she was remembering the past, which made her feel very uncomfortable. Rong Beihe has only two wishes for this mission. One is to stop the Rong family from being humiliated because of her. Rong Beihe has worked hard since she was a child. She does not just sit back and enjoy the results because of her excellent innate conditions. Instead, she studies hard every day to enrich herself. But her efforts only resulted in the Rong family becoming a laughing stock in the eyes of others, and her parents who loved her were reduced to the point of ridicule. This time, the original owner hoped that Lily could be proud of her and be the first to get rid of Gu Tiansheng. She doesn't care about such a man, and Liang Saiki can't let it go easily. For the sake of an idol, for Lu Jing's fame and the opportunity to go to bed with Gu Tiansheng, she sold her body, not even caring about the relationship between best friends and sisters. Rong Beihe made her pay. Pay the price. The original owner's wish was reasonable, and Lily also sympathized with the girl who was betrayed by her best friend and fiancé, so she prepared to complete this mission well. It's just that this time Lily entered the mission too late. At this time, the plot had already entered into the story where the original owner had completed his studies abroad, obtained a degree certificate from a well-known foreign school, and returned to China. This time he returned to China in a hurry, and Lily was ready. When she planned to develop well in China, get married to Gu Tiansheng, and spend time with her best friends, the facts gave her a loud slap in the face. It would be best if she could enter the mission earlier. If she entered the mission earlier, Lily might be able to ignore Liang Saiki and let her fend for herself. Without the help of the Rong family, she could just go to college if she wanted to. But it's definitely not that easy. Not only do you not have to worry about tuition fees and living expenses, but you can also work part-time to pursue your idols. She can also have extra spare money to support idols and buy a lot of flashy things related to Lu Jing, and without Rong Beihe's guidance, it will not be easy for her to get to know Gu Xiaodong. Unfortunately, everything about Rong Beihe paved the way for her and made it smooth for her in the end, but it was Rong Beihe who had been stuck and lonely for half his life. Thinking of this, Lily couldn't help but sigh. Watching the white clouds drifting by outside the window, she calmed down her thoughts. Unfortunately, She was on the plane now, and there was a stewardess watching her. She couldn't practice star training, so Lily could only have a good sleep on the plane. It was not until more than 10 hours later that the stewardess reminded the plane to prepare for landing that Lily sat up. After getting the news in the airport hall, the Wrong family members had already sent a driver to pick her up. Lily Wrong's parents had a party today. So I didn't come, but this time Wrong's father and Wrong's mother had something to do and couldn't come. Gu Tiansheng, Wrong Lily's nominal fiancé, and Liang Saiki, the so-called best friend of the original owner, also did not appear. In the plot, when Wrong Lily saw that only the driver came to pick her up at the airport, she was actually a little disappointed, but she thoughtfully looked for Gu Tiansheng in her heart. As an excuse, he just assumed that he was busy with work after taking over the Gu family, so he didn't think much about it. Now that Lily recalled the plot, she felt that the reason why Gu Tiansheng did not show up was that he might be fooling around with Liang Saiki at this time. Lily thought about the injustice Wrong Bei suffered in the plot. Since Gu Tiansheng's excuse for breaking off the engagement with her was that he thought Wrong Bei was too strong, proud, and had the temper of a young lady and was very willful, which was difficult for him to accept. If he didn't prove the crime for the original owner, wouldn't it be too sorry for the original owner? She picked up the phone with a smile and saw the separate phone save lists of Gu Tiansheng and Liang Saiki in the phone book. The girl Wrong Lily added a heart-shaped symbol in front of their names. Lily added this. The heart-shaped symbol was replaced by a dog's head, and then he found Gu Tiansheng's phone number and dialed it directly. When the phone rang for the first time, Gu Tiansheng didn't answer it after more than a dozen rings. Lily was not discouraged. She handed her luggage to the driver and kept calling her all the way out of the airport while waiting outside. When the driver came over, after the call lasted for about 10 minutes, Gu Tiansheng on the other end of the phone finally couldn't help it anymore and picked up the phone. A somewhat angry voice came from the other end of the phone. Wrong Bei, are you crazy? I'm in a meeting right now, why are you keeping calling me? Gu Tiansheng's voice was still panting at this moment, and one could tell that he must have been interrupted by him after doing something good. At this time, when he was getting angry, Lily sneered. The original owner had been abroad for many years, and now he finally came back from graduation. Gu Tiansheng might have forgotten about picking him up at the airport, and he also forgot that he was still a Wrong. Lily's fiancé was not coming to pick him up, but she was still very angry. Hearing that he dared to get angry at her now, she raised the corner of her mouth and yelled in a louder voice than Gu Tiansheng, Gu Tiansheng, are you crazy? I returned to China today and you didn't come to pick me up. Have you forgotten that you are still my fiancé? Believe it or not, I called Uncle Gu right away and asked him to put your work aside. You will be busy for the next 72 hours. You have to stay in front of me obediently. You must show up at the airport to pick me up within half an hour, otherwise you won't be able to live a peaceful life. After Lily said this, she heard Gu Tiansheng's cursing voice coming from the phone. She hung up the phone without hesitation and quickly dialed Liang Saiki's number. Liang Saiki didn't delay long. The phone rang twice. She picked up after the sound. Before she could speak, Lily said directly as if giving orders to a servant, I'm back home. Pick me up at the airport within half an hour. That's it. After she said this, before Liang Saiki could answer, she hung up the phone. In the past, Lily Wrong always valued Liang Saiki and never hung up on her when talking to her on the phone. This was the first time that Lily hung up on Liang Saiki for the original owner. Although it was just a small thing, Lily still felt comfortable. After making the call, she added the names of these two people to the blacklist, and finally got into the family car and went directly back to Wrong's house. After returning home, her parents were not around. Lily took a bath first. After washing away her fatigue, she picked out two of the valuable gifts she had prepared for the Gu family this time. They were not like the plot. The original owner here usually brought all the piles of gifts he bought for the Gu family and then went to the Gu family. The villa area where the Gu family is located is not far from Rong Li. After leaving the Rong family's community, we drove around a corner and arrived at the Gu family's territory. It was still early when Lily came over. Father Gu should still be in the company. Mother Gu was the only one at home. When Lily appeared, Mother Gu was surprised and happy. Mrs. Gu had watched Lily grow up, and she was actually very satisfied with her future daughter-in-law, not only in her appearance. She is beautiful, and the key is that Rong Beihe and Gu Tiansheng are from the same family, and she is smart and capable, so she has such a future daughter-in-law. Whether it is taken out or among friends, it is a very honorable thing. Therefore, when Mrs. Gu saw Lily appearing with a small bag, she couldn't help but smile on her face and said with some joy, "Lily, when did you come back? Why didn't you inform Tiansheng so that he could pick you up?" Lily stepped forward and took Mrs. Gu's hand. She took out the gift that the original owner was going to give to Mrs. Gu, and handed it over. "Aunt Gu, this brand's newly launched limited edition. Aunt Gu has everything, and she doesn't need it. What do you need? It's just that when I saw this brand of brooch, I thought it was very suitable for you and matches your temperament. Aunt Gu will try it and see if she likes it." She didn't stupidly give away a lot of things like the original owner. Mrs. Gu herself came from a well-known family, and the Gu family was rich and powerful. Mrs. Gu didn't lack anything in the first place. She could buy the things no matter how expensive they were, so wrong although Mrs. Gu accepted the things Lily gave her, she was not very rare. In the following days, Lily never saw her use them once. Lily only picked out a diamond brooch at this moment, and did not give it as a gift like the original owner. A lot of things, but he complimented Mrs. Gu a few times. When Mrs. Gu heard this, she suddenly laughed. The head wife of the Gu family does not lack compliments or gold, silver, and jewelry, but what she lacks is recognition and submission from her future daughter-in-law like Lily. The original owner has a proud personality and also comes from a wealthy family. Her own status is different from Mrs. Gu. Wuji, so the original owner respected Mrs. Gu, but didn't have much time to flatter her. When Lily started to praise Mrs. Gu, it was as if Mrs. Gu had drank a large glass of refreshing drink in the dog days of summer, which was rare to hear. Lily's compliment made Mrs. Gu couldn't help but feel happy. She was not very interested in the gift from Lily at first, but when she heard her words, Mrs. Gu became interested and put the exquisitely wrapped box. As soon as I opened it and saw the brooch inside, my eyes lit up. The original owner was born in a noble family and naturally had good taste. She carefully selected this brooch for Mrs. Gu, so it really matched Mrs. Gu's temperament. In the plot, in addition to giving this brooch as a gift, Lily Rong also found it abroad. I asked an old overseas Chinese who immigrated abroad to make handmade cheongsams to take care of my wife's measurements and sew a cheongsam for her. All of this alone cost the original owner a lot of effort. Unfortunately, in the end, she was too proud and couldn't lower her head. So much so that she ran away for a long time, but they didn't appreciate it at all. In the plot, Mrs. Gu probably never opened these boxes at all, and the gifts were piled up at home, wasting all the original owner's efforts. Seeing Mrs. Gu taking out the gift box at this time, Lily jumped up as if she remembered something. "Aunt Gu, please wait for me for a while." After she finished speaking, she hurriedly left the Gu family while wearing a pair of high heels. Without waiting for Mrs. Gu to persuade her to stay, she drove back home and soon brought back the cheongsam that Lily Rong had worked so hard to get. When Mrs. Gu was sitting on the sofa with a brooch in her hand, Lily took off her shoes, took the slippers handed by the housekeeper and put them on, and said to Mrs. Gu, "I originally made a cheongsam for my mother, but my mother's temperament is different, and now I find Aunt Gu is more suitable," Lily said, raising the bag in her hand at Mrs. Gu. At first, She left Mrsku inexplicably and was a little confused. Now when she saw her go back, she just brought a cheongsam for herself, especially when she heard that this cheongsam was given to Mrs wrong by Lily, but now because of Mrsku couldn't help but feel more benefited from the fact that her temperament was given to her, and she also became more pleased with Lily. She originally liked this daughter of the wrong family, but now she found that Lily seemed to be even more pleased with her when she came back after studying abroad for several years than before. Mrsku was in a good mood, and she also became somewhat interested in the cheongsam in Lily's hand, and let it go. Lily pushed into the house and put on the cheongsam. Mrsku originally liked Western-style dresses and didn't really like the classical cheongsam. However, this cheongsam fit the size perfectly, and because it was hand-sewn, it was very comfortable after wearing it, showing off her mature and elegant feminine beauty. When she came out, Leng Hui, who had never worn cheongsam in the past, felt a little amazing after putting it on. Coupled with the brooch sent by Lily, she couldn't help but look at the completely different image of herself in the mirror. Looking back, Mrsku didn't even take off her cheongsam in the end because she was in a good mood. Instead, Lily's compliments today narrowed the distance between the two, making her look at Lily softer and softer. Slowly, there were more topics to talk about. In the past, I only talked about flower arrangements, tea ceremonies, and other boring topics that girls from wealthy families would talk about. They also talked about fashionable clothes. Time flew by because of this. Soon, the sky outside became dark. Gu Madam was about to leave Lily to stay for dinner, and when she ordered the housekeeper to prepare Lily's favorite dishes in the kitchen, there was the sound of parking cars outside. Maybe your Uncle Gu is back. Mrsku glanced at Lily with a smile, her eyes filled with joy. Tian Sheng said in the morning that he would not come back for dinner today. If I had known you were coming back today, I would have let him. I'm going to pick you up. At this point, Mrsku seemed to have remembered something, clapped her hands, and quickly asked the maid to get the phone, wanting to call her son. But just as she dialed the number, the pleasant phone rang outside, and Gu Tianzhen's tall figure appeared at the door. He was wearing a silver-gray handmade suit, and his soft hair was now dyed maroon, looking fashionable and handsome. His face was extremely dark at the moment, and the phone was still in his palm. After looking around the room with his sharp eyes, he saw Tuo He sitting on the sofa, leaning against Mrsku's. Lily's eyes burst out with anger. Wrong Bei he gritted his teeth and shouted Lily's name once, kicked off the leather shoes on his feet angrily, and threw the slippers handed by the housekeeper to the ground. After stepping on them angrily, he even forgot revealing the figure originally following him. Liang Saiki now had long, semi-curled hair. She wore a large sweater of the same color as Gu Tiansheng on her upper body, and a woolen short skirt on her lower body, with a pair of thick black leggings underneath. Wearing a pair of maroon leather boots, he was standing at the door with his head lowered and somewhat at a loss. The butler's action when he was about to hand her slippers proved that she must have come to Gu's house often in the past. Lily suddenly raised the empty cup in her hand to the butler. "Third sister, can you refill my cup of black tea?" After hearing Lily's instructions, the housekeeper known as the third sister naturally turned around without hesitation. Although she was a girl who often came to the Gu family, the eldest young master Gu Tiansheng seemed to be very close to her, but compared to Lily, after all, Lily is the future young mistress of the Gu family, and the housekeeper naturally knows which end is more important, so she turned around and took the cup from Lily's hand. "Okay, Miss Wrong." "Thank you, third sister." Lily smiled at the housekeeper. At this moment, Gu Tiansheng walked up to Lily, pointed at her nose and said sternly, "Wrong Lily, what are you doing? You asked me to pick up the plane, but you ended up yourself. You actually ran back first. Do you know that I have been waiting for you at the airport for 2 hours?" When he thought of this, an unknown fire burst out in Gu Tianzhen's chest. It was rare for him to find time to make an appointment with Liang Saiki. The two of them were ready to have a good time, but they didn't expect that Lily's phone rang as soon as they got to the point. At first, Gu Tiansheng thought of letting her ring a few times before hanging up, but he didn't expect that Lily kept calling endlessly without picking up the phone. In the end, he had no intention of getting Liang Saiki, so he had to end the matter in a hurry and pick up the phone. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 520. Gu Tiansheng finally made an appointment with Liang Saiki. This little goblin was usually lukewarm towards him, but now it was time for him to take notice of him. He went through a lot of effort and gave Lu Jing a separate publicity opportunity before he would be ignored. Reluctantly, she called him over. The two of them had just played a new trick, and when he was enjoying himself, someone cut off his enthusiasm. Naturally, there was no need to mention the depression in his heart. Lily asked him to arrive at the airport within half an hour and hung up the phone without giving him time to react. Gu Tiansheng didn't want to go, but Lily called Liang Saiki and asked her to rush to pick up the airport. Although Gu Tiansheng himself he didn't want to go, but since Liang Saiki was about to go, he naturally had no choice but to drive her there. Unexpectedly, when the two of them rushed there in a hurry and didn't even have time to take a shower, they found that the airport hall was empty. Originally thinking that Lily might have encountered an accident or that the flight was delayed, the two of them waited at the airport for a long time. During this period, the line they called Lily was always busy. Gu Tiansheng waited until unknown fire was running through his heart, and finally he reacted and asked. The airport staff knew that Lily's flight back from abroad had stopped at the airport more than 2 hours ago. After knowing this fact, Gu Tiansheng almost vomited blood in anger. He drove all the way back to settle the accounts with Lily, but he failed when he went to Rong's house. When he was planning to take Liang Saiki home for dinner, he didn't expect to see the general in his own home. Gu Tiansheng had played with Lily for a while, and now he wanted to stab Lily twice. When he saw her, he naturally didn't have a good face, and he scolded her sharply. Are you sick? Why didn't you say anything when you came back? Why can't you make calls on your broken mobile phone? Why did you ask me to pick up the phone when you came back? Gu Tiansheng was furious at this time. He was interrupted by Lily when he was dissatisfied with his desire. At this time, he was irritated. His uncle had been waiting for Lily for 2 hours in the airport for no reason. At this time, he was very unhappy and only thought about it. He wanted to vent the resentment and displeasure in his heart, so he completely forgot that he was standing by the door with his head lowered in embarrassment. Liang Saiki was at a loss. When he was angrily scolding Lily, Lily suddenly turned her head away, frowned, and asked with a look of disgust. Gu Tiansheng, we haven't seen you for a few years. From whom did you learn such a virtue? Lily's face turned cold at this time, and there was a bit of hidden impatience and contempt between her eyebrows. When Mrs. Gu, who was talking to her with a smile just now, saw her expression, even if Lily didn't look like Gu Tiansheng they still say bad words, but for wealthy people, what matters most is etiquette. As soon as Lily came back, she knew how to pay homage to the elders of the Gu family, but when her son came back, he pointed at Lily and scolded her rudely. Mrs. Gu suddenly felt ashamed. Although she felt sorry for her son, Gu Tiansheng was rude in front of Lily today, which would easily make the Rong family despise the Gu family in the future. No matter how much Mrs. Gu cared about her son, she would not allow such a thing to happen, so he stood up and glared at his son. If you have something to say, how about yelling? Is this how the Gu family taught you? Gu Tiansheng heard his mother's words. She couldn't help but feel even more angry. Mom, today this damn girl Rong Bei he called me and asked me to pick her up at the airport. As a result, I arrived at the airport and waited for more than 2 hours, but she didn't answer the phone. Young Master Gu has always let other people's pigeons go. When did someone let him go? Lily's trouble today made Gu Tiansheng extremely angry. Just as he was about to complain to Mrs. Gu, Lily sneered. Have you forgotten that you are still my fiancé? I reminded you yesterday that I was coming back. You should have come to the airport early to pick me up. You were not seen when the plane arrived for more than 10 hours. Uncle Gu is busy in the Gu family now, what's your turn and you can't get away from it. As Lily said this, her eyes fell on Liang Saiki, who was standing at the door, a little at a loss. After she came to the Gu family, no one paid attention to her. Even though Liang Saiki had a calm and indifferent character, she still felt a little embarrassed at the moment. She lowered her head and curled a strand of her hair. Her petite and thin body was leaning against the door. Her large gray sweater was barely visible. Looking at her figure, only her small breasts were slightly raised like two pigeon eggs, and she looked as if she was in a trance. The original owner had a curvy figure and extraordinary clothing taste. She was a beautiful, intellectual, and sexy woman. However, Gu Tiansheng didn't like this kind of girl, and instead went to have sex with Liang Saiki, who looked extremely skinny. When he saw her lowering her head, Lily curled up the corners of her mouth in disdain at the exposed slender white chin. Her acting skills had now reached a high level. At this moment, she deliberately wanted to show her disdain for Liang Saiki, but her attitude changed with her eyes. When she came out, it made people feel as if she was looking at garbage just by looking at Liang Saiki. How did you and Liang Saiki meet by chance? Why didn't Liang Saiki come in when she came? Lily ignored Gu Tiansheng, who had a fierce look on his face. At this time, he sat on the sofa like a hostess and greeted Liang Saiki. Her words made Mrs. Gu and both Gu Tiansheng and Gu Tiansheng turned their attention from her to Liang Saiki. Mrs. Gu had been having a good time with Lily all afternoon. She just saw Lily's elegant and confident look, and then saw Liang Saiki being called by someone's name. She raised her head in confusion as if she had just woken up from a big dream. Her hair was disheveled, and her long, slightly curly hair was draped over her body, making her thin and petite figure even more endearing. Her small face, like a palm, seemed to Mrs. Gu's brows suddenly furrowed as she couldn't find the focus in her eyes. Liang Saiki felt the displeasure in Mrs. Gu's eyes very keenly. Mrs. Gu was from a famous family and was the head wife of the Gu family. She frowned with great force at this moment. Although Liang Saiki didn't care about everything, but at this moment under the sight of Mrs. Gu, and Lily beside her, who looked so arrogant that she didn't even take her into consideration, Liang Saiki still felt embarrassed. She pursed her lips, and after a while she responded softly, a little embarrassed. He bent down to open the shoe cabinet on the side and picked up the slippers. In the past, if the housekeeper didn't hand her slippers in person when she came to Gu's house, a maid would definitely hand them over to her. This was the first time Gu Saiki herself came to Gu's house to get her shoes. No matter how calm she was, she would not give her slippers at this time. She couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. She awkwardly took off her boots. Since she was holding the slippers in one hand, it was inconvenient to take off her boots with one hand, so her posture would inevitably look a little ugly. Sitting like this, Mrs. Gu on the sofa could not help but snort in her nostrils. Except for Gu Tiansheng, who looked indifferent and seemed not to notice Liang Saiki's embarrassment, all the servants in the Gu family noticed Gu Saiki's embarrassment at this moment. Are you sick? You called me and then Saiki. It was normal for us to meet each other. She also waited for you for 2 hours. I took her home to have dinner. What's wrong? Stop looking for trouble. Gu Tiansheng glanced at Liang Saiki, and then impatiently turned his attention to Lily. His rare and careful date today was disrupted by Lily. This was the time to get angry, and he just wanted to. He scolded Lily a few more times, but as soon as he finished speaking, Lily turned to look at him. In the eyes of sick people, everyone is sick. What a coincidence you two are. Gu Tiansheng didn't react when he heard Lily's previous sentence. When he realized that Lily was saying this to ridicule his illness, he suddenly became furious and was about to retort when he heard Lily say the next sentence meaningfully. Although Gu Tiansheng was a little unhappy that Lily had interfered with his good affairs, at this moment he still remembered that he was Lily's fiancé, and he felt a little guilty. He stretched out his hand to pluck his hair as if he was irritated. Pretending to be calm, he snorted coldly. I'm too lazy to care about you. Although he seemed to dislike Lily for talking nonsense, Mrsku still sensed something was wrong from these words. In the past, Gu Tiansheng would occasionally take Liang Saiki back home for dinner. Mrsku looked at it at first not as good as Liang Saiki, but later Gu Tiansheng always used Rong Beihe as an excuse, saying that when Rong Beihe left, he had told him to take more care of Liang Saiki. As time went by, Mrsku took care of her son for Rong Beihe's sake. Liang Saiki just turned a blind eye to the matter of her return, but at this moment, it seemed that something happened between the girl named Liang and her son. If Mrsku didn't care when Lily didn't return to China, but now that Lily is back, it doesn't matter that Mrsku didn't know about the matter between Gu Tiansheng and Liang Saiki before. Now that she knows, in order to save face for the wrong family, she must stand on Lily's side. Tiansheng, why are you talking to Lily? You two haven't seen each other for many years. Let's go upstairs to be alone for a while. Saiki will accompany me for a walk in the yard. Liang Saiki responded casually. She had just changed the shoe on her foot. When she heard that Mrsku wanted her to go out for a walk, she glanced at the shoe in her hand with some embarrassment. She didn't know whether she should continue. Instead of taking off your shoes, put on your original boots. When Gu Tiansheng heard that his mother wanted him to accompany Lily, his face suddenly darkened. He glanced at Liang Saiki subconsciously, as if he was afraid that she would misunderstand, but at this moment Liang Saiki lowered her head and used one hand to lift her. The long hair that was scattered around her face seemed a bit restrained in her quick movements. When she pushed her hair behind her ears, half of her face was revealed, which was a bit pale and ordinary, but made him fall in love with it the more he looked at it. Gu Tiansheng looked at it. He was in a daze, and naturally he forgot what Mrsku had just explained. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan ERWR. Chapter 521. At this moment, the third sister of the housekeeper, who had just been instructed by Lily to brew black tea, brought a cup of steaming tea over. Lily took the tea leisurely, blew a breath, and took a sip of the tea. He frowned in disgust. Saiki, the taste is a bit bland. Can you bring me some cinnamon? Her tone was exactly the same as when she told the third sister before that all the tea and snacks in the Gu family were made by well-known domestic first-class pastry chefs, and Lily Rong was Gu Tiansheng's fiancée. She had grown up with Gu Tiansheng since childhood, and the Gu family. The chef knows her taste very well. He knows how much sugar to add to the black tea and what to put in it. There is absolutely no chance that anything is missing and the taste is bland. Now Mrsku can see it. Lily should have noticed that something happened between Liang Saiki and Gu Tiansheng, but she did not shout out loudly, but used this method. Mrsku was very satisfied with Lily's way of handling it. Lily didn't ruin Gu Tiansheng's reputation anyway, so she pretended not to hear it, winked at the third sister, lowered her head and began to study the ring on her finger without making a sound. Liang Saiki didn't expect that Lily would use such a tone to order her servants to do something in the Gu family. She couldn't help but be stunned. Although Rong Beihe had called her Saiki affectionately in the past, he had never ordered her in such a condescending tone. She was not used to Lily's attitude for a while. After a long time, when she saw Lily's brows furrowed, she glanced at Gu Tiansheng subconsciously. There was a somewhat panicked look on her face. Seeing Lily's impatient look, she snorted in a voice like a mosquito. Okay. It wasn't just once or twice that she came to the Gu family, but Liang Saiki had never known where the Gu family's kitchen was. She looked at the housekeeper's third sister for help, but the housekeeper had only received the look from the mistress of the Gu family before. Liang Saiki pretended that she didn't see her asking for help at all. She just smiled and nodded at her, glanced at her and then looked away. He clasped his hands in front of his lower abdomen and stood respectfully beside Mrs. Gu without speaking. Seeing the third sister's posture, Liang Saiki's face flushed with embarrassment. She looked down at the floor helplessly. Finally, she smiled as if she was laughing at herself, and then decisively took off her shoes. With everyone in the Gu family watching her silently, she put her shoes in the shoe cabinet, put on her slippers, and then walked towards Lily. She reached out to take the black tea from Lily's hand, and then raised her head to calm down. Looking at Lily smiling, as if meeting Lily for the first time, he asked loudly, "I wonder where the Gu family's kitchen is." Although Liang Saiki has an indifferent character towards everything. When she was in school, she didn't care about her academic ranking or the ridicule about her figure. She doesn't care what the teachers think of her, but this person is not completely temperless. She also has her own rebelliousness. Once someone challenges the bottom line that she thinks she can care less about, she will rebound. She had been mentally prepared that she might break up with Lily when she slept with Gu Tiansheng. Although she had felt sorry for Lily at the beginning, now the real thing was coming. Liang Saiki calmed down instead, and her indifferent temper towards everything came into play at this time. If Lily wants to be friends with her, she will try her best to leave Gu Tiansheng, but she doesn't know if Gu Tiansheng will come to pester her. But if Lily doesn't want to be friends with her, she also expresses her understanding. Sooner or later, she will know the truth anyway. Liang Saiki, she felt that she would not be sad about Lily's attitude, because she guessed that Lily would be very angry with her when she knew the truth, but Lily's behavior of humiliating her made Liang Saiki's rare anger stirred up. If the person who did this was Mrs. Gu, if the person who humiliated her was Mrs. Gu, she might not care at all. She would take out the cinnamon meat for Mrs. Gu after smiling slightly. After all, she would lose a lot of skin when doing something. Mrs. Gu is not her, she can't hurt herself, but how could Lily do this to her? After all, the two were once friends. Liang Saiki placed herself on the same level as Rong Beihe. She didn't take Mrs. Gu to heart, so she didn't care about the humiliation from Mrs. Gu, but Rong Beihe had been with her for several years. Friends, Liang Saiki regarded the two of them as equals, but now such a being wanted to humiliate her. Liang Saiki felt that she couldn't bear it, so she asked loudly, with a calm face and no guilt. There was even a sarcastic smile in his bright black eyes, as if he was mocking the poor and cheap friendship between the two. Lily glanced at her silently. When everyone around thought that she would lose face and explode under Liang Saiki's small counterattack, even Gu Tiansheng looked nervous and subconsciously wanted to block Liang Saiki. Lily but suddenly stood up. "Saiki, have you changed your shoes and washed your hands?" These words were beyond everyone's expectation. Mrs. Gu's lips curled up and she lowered her head with a sneer in her eyes. Gu Tiansheng breathed a sigh of relief and glared at Lily. Weird people have too many things to do, annoying. Liang Saiki's face turned green and white at this time. She was holding Lily's teacup. The counterattack she had just made in one go turned into even more humiliation than before under Lily's smile and rushed towards her. Her lips trembled involuntarily. Getting up, Lily sighed. "It's a very good tea, although it lacks some cinnamon, which is a pity." Her words made Liang Saiki lower her head even more, and then Lily glanced at Mrs. Gu with a smile like a flower. "Aunt Gu, come and sit here today. It's been a long time, it's time for me to go back. My parents don't know if they're home right now. I'll come visit you another day." Mrsku stood up and was very satisfied with how Lily had seen through some of the truth today but did not reveal it at all. Instead, she used such means to humiliate Liang Saiki. In addition, Lily spent a long time with her this afternoon and sent her off again. The cheongsam and brooch were very much to her liking. In contrast, this unknown so-called Miss Liang, whom her son had brought home many times, had been visiting her house for many years but had never brought a gift. Although Mrsku did not lack anything, she valued it. At this time, she was even more dissatisfied with etiquette, so she was happy to embarrass Liang Saiki. Seeing that Behi was about to leave, he stood up and exchanged greetings with her. "Okay, I wanted to keep you here for dinner, you kid just be filial, go back and see your parents first." As soon as Lily came back, she ran to Gu's house to meet her. Mrsku was very satisfied with her. When she talked to her now, her face was pleasant. Lily said a few polite words. When she went out, the third sister of the housekeeper personally stood in for her. She handed over the shoes she wanted to change. Compared with the treatment Liang Saiki received just now, Lily's status in the Gu family was naturally revealed. When Lily left the Gu family, she heard Mrsku talking to Liang Saiki on the first floor of the Gu family villa. "It's getting late, and Miss Liang's parents must be impatient. They need someone to prepare a car for Miss Liang and take her back." When she heard this, Lily could almost imagine the look on Liang Saiki's face. She shook the car keys in her hand and smiled slightly. This was just the beginning. Does Liang Saiki care about Gu Tiansheng? Then give it to her. Such a loser who only knows how to play with women except for his appearance and family background. If she likes him, then he should give it to her, but he is just afraid that she will not be able to catch it. Even if she catches it, Lily will let her catch it? It was a hot potato that she could not swallow easily. When he returned home, he picked out a bracelet and 2 silk scarves from the gifts originally intended for Liang Saiki's parents and gave them to the servants at home, and ordered them to be delivered to the housekeeper and chef of the Gu family. After all this was done, after the wrong family's parents came back, Lily forgot about the bad couple and began to concentrate on accompanying the original owner's parents. The original owner actually felt a little regretful and sorry for her parents. It was because she didn't know the person well at first, and she lured Liang Saiki into the family. In the end, the wrong family became the laughing stock of the upper class. This time Lily wanted to fulfill the original owner's wish. In addition to attacking Liang Saiki and Gu Tiansheng, she also had to be filial to her parents on behalf of the original owner. The wrong family only had one daughter. They originally regarded her as precious as eyeballs, but now Lily wants to please her. Her daughter has been studying abroad for many years. Naturally, the family was happy to finally come back, but Liang Saiki didn't call again until Lily returned to her room late at night. She has such a cold character and treats everything carelessly. She neither called to explain her appearance with Gu Tiansheng today, nor asked Lily why she didn't notify her when she came back today. Lily already knew it from the plot. Knowing this person's character, he was not surprised that she did this, so he turned off his cell phone and practiced the star training technique twice before going to bed and lying down for a while. Lily practiced star training yesterday and was energetic when she woke up the next day. Rong's father had already left home and gone to the company. Lily had just returned to China. The Rong family couple was reluctant to put too much pressure on their daughter early. Therefore, everyone hopes that she can take a good rest for a while before working. Yesterday evening, Rong's father even bluntly said that he hoped that if his daughter had nothing to do, he could invite a group of old friends to go out for tea and play. Lily had no intention of inviting anyone out for tea and play. Instead, she turned on her mobile phone and dialed Liang Saiki's phone number directly. This time, the call was not connected quickly. Instead, after 7 or 8 rings, Liang Saiki's somewhat cold voice rang. "Miss Rong, is something okay? To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come."